Chapter 1149. A few devil class students instantly fell onto the ground. Shangguan Liuli missed, and her expression sunk. The sinister smile on her face slowly congealed on her face. That red glow was bewitching and glaring. Following that, a flame-like feather fan sped over. Like a leaping flame, it blossomed with the most beautiful splendor in midair. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The spinning sound of the feather fan drew a deafening piercing sound in the air. It shook the entire arena, causing it to shake continuously. That piercing sound was filled with a biting cold murderous intent. It completely overshadowed all the discussions in the arena, overshadowed the Shangguan family's jubilant cheers. Between heaven and earth, it was as though there was only that voice left. Like thunder, a voice that shook the heaven and earth. The feather fan directly closed in on Shangguan Liuli. A strong aura instantly enveloped the entire arena. Air waves raged, flames burned wantonly, stacking layer upon layer. Shangguan Liuli instinctively turned sideways, trying to avoid that feather fan's attack. Even without the profound Yin Chi's control, she also wanted to avoid the feather fan. She had a hunch that if she was struck by this feather fan, she would absolutely die. Her feet had just moved. That nearing feather fan suddenly transformed into numerous fangs and claws, roaring angrily. It directly entangled Shangguan Liuli entirely within. This was obviously an illusory fire dragon. But unfortunately, the temperature of the fire dragon was so real that Shangguan Liuli felt that she was about to be roasted. She could even smell the fragrance of meat on her body. The feather fan was still encircling Shangguan Liuli's body, revolving continuously. The airwaves stacked as the imposing manner became stronger and stronger. The entire arena's air was completely controlled by that feather fan. Qing Luo. It's Boss Qing Luo. Madam Qing Luo. Joyful voices were heard from those devil class students. Those students who were originally suppressed by Shangguan Liuli's strong imposing manner all started to climb up, their eyes filled with joy. In devil class's waiting area, all the students had already stood up. Their eyes were filled with joy. Some even cried out in agitation. That was Yi Qing Luo's glower flame fan. That powerful energy, familiar and warm. That was Yi Qing Luo's energy. She was back. She really came back safe and sound. They had finally waited for their boss Qing Luo. Hearing devil class's students' wild and ecstatic shouts, everyone's vision was fixed on the red feather fan that had suppressed Shangguan Liuli to the point where she could not resist at all. His heart tightened little by little. He was shocked. He had heard of Yi Qing Luo's powerful ability, heard that Yi Qing Luo possessed the divine dragon and the sacred beast white tiger. How could a 15-year-old girl be so powerful? But seeing it with his own eyes was a different kind of shock. This kind of shock was far more shocking than the news of Shangguan Liuli being a 5th grader Xian. Shangguan Liuli, who was entangled by the fire dragons, felt as if her consciousness was being devoured by the countless fire dragons. She couldn't breathe. The moment he breathed in, his nostrils were filled with a scorching hot air. She couldn't open her eyes. By the side of her ears, numerous people were shouting Yi Qing Luo's name. Her delicate body, which was unable to move, suddenly stiffened. Yi Qing Luo? How could Yi Qing Luo possibly appear? That woman had fallen into his lord's trap. Wasn't it impossible for that woman to come back alive? Why did she rush over to the competition venue? Numerous fire dragons kept tightening, twisting. Shangguan Liuli, do you want revenge? In her mind, that familiar hoarse voice rang coldly. She shut her eyes in pain. Chapter 1150. This voice clearly knew the desire in her heart. This voice gave her the strength she had now, giving her enough ability to stand here and receive the envious and respectful gazes from everyone. Want revenge? Yes, it was because of her desire for revenge that she had sold her soul to the dark forces without any hesitation. She wanted to obtain powerful strength, to crush Yi Qing Luo under her body, making her unable to turn over. This was her chance to prove herself. This was her chance to make a name for herself. She must not let Yi Qing Luo destroy everything that she had sacrificed her soul for. Yes, I want revenge. I want to destroy Yi Qing Luo, to see her living a life worse than death. A strong hatred filled her body and mind. A burst of profound yin qi completely wrapped her up. Power, a steady stream of power, flowed violently in her body. It was the power that she longed for. Shangguan Liuli greedily absorbed that power, expanding her profound qi again and again. Earth Profound 6th grade. Well, what is that? The elder stood up suddenly, pointed to the stage, and his expression changed. That student named Shangguan Liuli. How dare she cheat in the competition? Such a dense dark aura brought with it a chill that made one's hair stand on end. Thinking back to the dark forces that had been spreading in the Nirvana realm in the past few days, the elder's face sunk. What a great heavenly academy! For a competition, they didn't hesitate to make a deal with the dark forces. No matter how I look, I feel that there is something wrong with this student, Shangguan Liuli, a young girl. How could she burst from the Earth Profound realm to the Earth Profound 5th grade in an instant? Shangguan family is too much. How dare she cheat in front of our elder? Is she disregarding the headquarters, disregarding the other academies, disregarding the various forces? Intermediate Profound Class 2 disqualified. The academy does not accept any form of cheating in the competition. The elder gritted his teeth, filled with righteous indignation. The student dared to cheat in front of them. Obviously she did not put the headquarters in their eyes. Elders, calm down. This student absolutely would not be so silly to cheat in front of you. There must be a reason behind this. The director panicked, cursing Shangguan Liuli in his heart for not being able to control the profound yin qi because of anger, ruining his plan. Now that things had already happened, he had to think of a way to remedy it. What else is there to say? This old man saw it with my own eyes. How can it be fake? The dean wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. Look, just now the devil class students were so defeated that they couldn't even put up a fight. How could they suddenly be able to move? And isn't student Yiqing Luo back? At this point he stopped talking. The best way was to stop where it was appropriate. Sure enough, one of the elders from the main institute furrowed his brows and nodded thoughtfully. Indeed, since Shangguan Liuli is cheating, how could she be so foolish as to show it in front of everyone without holding anything back? On the contrary, classmate Yi, his gaze surveyed the surroundings, but he didn't see Yiqing Luo at all. Yiqing Luo had suddenly returned. Shangguan Liuli unleashed the power of the dark forces. How could things be so coincidental? In the direction of the general courtyard, everyone was already arguing with their own opinions. A clear and melodious voice, like pearls falling onto a plate, sweet and melodious. Devil class's Yiqing Luo returns. Dressed in a fiery red robe, he drew a beautiful afterglow in the sky. Chapter 1151. The strong airwave wantonly blew against the young lady's skirt. 3,000 black hair swayed along with the wind, as though stepping on a bunch of cherry red petals stepping on the air. The young lady slowly landed on the arena. Following that, she raised her arm high. That glower flame fan, which was revolving around Shangguan Liuli, flew a few rounds and returned to her palm. Her slender fair fingers, one by one, gripped the glower flame fan tightly. As it blended with that red flame, it looked especially captivating. The entire Westlake Square seemed as though it had been rehearsed previously. It fell into a dead silence. No one opened their mouth to speak. It was Yiqing Luo. She was back. This devil class's students, treated as their faith, even if she was riddled with scars, they still had to hang on. This genius young lady who was discussed by various forces, who wanted to rope her in, wanted to subdue her. This mysterious and powerful existence. She rushed back at the most crucial moment of the competition. This competition, could there be room for a reversal? Numerous people's hearts inexplicably surged with a firm belief. It seemed like Yiqing Luo rushed back in time. She definitely had this ability to reverse the situation. Obviously, the majority of the various forces did not know Yiqing Luo's ability, and only felt that the matter of Yiqing Luo subduing the divine dragon sacred beast was merely an exaggeration. But unfortunately, after seeing Yiqing Luo, they inexplicably believed that Yiqing Luo had this ability. Perhaps it was because they were infected by devil class's strong willpower, or perhaps they were infected by devil class's spirit. Devil class firmly believed in Yi Qing Luo. They also subconsciously firmly believed in Yi Qing Luo. This was a kind of spirit. A kind of, enough to subdue numerous cultivators' spirit. In the direction of the main courtyard, the silent senior M.O. looked calmly at Yi Qing Luo. That blossoming cherry blossom, that enchanting figure, made him frown slightly. His vision subconsciously swept towards Devil class's waiting area. Indeed, in the crowd he discovered that half-masked, dressed in purple robe man, elegantly leaning against the wooden chair, showing a languid expression. The expressionless face finally heaved a sigh of relief. She finally rushed back. In the end, Di Zun had successfully brought her back. In the arena, after Yi Qing Luo kept the glower flame fan, the fire dragon which was coiling around Shangguan Liuli also gradually dispersed. Shangguan Liuli gasped for air, and her legs gave way as she fell to the ground. The sinister eyes that were suffused with black qi stared coldly at Yi Qing Luo. He was in such a sorry state, yet he refused to admit defeat. Yi Qing Luo sneered. The corners of her lips curled into an enchanting arc, revealing a trace of gloomy chill. Just based on you, you dare to call yourself Sun Moon. She slowly walked toward Shangguan Liuli. He lifted his leg and stepped on Shangguan Liuli's chest. He exerted a little force. Shangguan Liuli let out a muffled groan, and her body fell heavily to the ground. She did not have the strength to resist. Today, in front of all the powerhouses, I will tell you how the brilliance of my devil class students pierces your eyes. He was exerting force and moving his toes on her chest bit by bit. Pain, a heart-wrenching pain came from his chest. His internal organs seemed to have been trampled into meat paste by Yi Qing Luo's feet. She spat out blood, painfully struggling to avoid Yi Qing Luo's feet. Painful, Yi Qing Luo's brows rose, smiling like a flower. Painful is right. You will be in more pain soon. Shangguan Liuli wanted to torture devil class students to a living hell. Then, she would fulfill Shangguan Liuli's evil interest. Living a life worse than death, right? Chapter 1152. Shangguan Liuli was in so much pain that she had no strength to struggle. The direction that Yi Qing Luo stepped on was coincidentally her heart. Yi Qing Luo fiercely suppressed the profound jade heart. Shangguan Liuli did not even have the strength to circulate her profound qi. If she insisted on circulating her profound qi, I'm afraid Yi Qing Luo would not hesitate to crush her heart. Why did Yi Qing Luo rush back to take part in the competition? Didn't the Lord say that as long as Yi Qing Luo went to rescue Yi Fengyu, it would be a one-way trip? Why? But Yi Qing Luo appeared here. He had arrived at the most crucial moment. Due to the sudden increase in her Xianyin qi, her profound level continued to rise. It completely disrupted her rhythm of absorbing the mysterious yin qi. It also caused the Xianyin qi in her body to be completely disrupted. Otherwise, how would Yi Qing Luo have the chance to step on her chest? Yi Qing Luo, you dare to do this in front of so many people. Shangguan Liuli's voice was hoarse as she saw the murderous intent in Yi Qing Luo's eyes. She didn't want to die. Before Yi Qing Luo died, she didn't want to die. There were elders from the main institute and representatives from the various powers and academies. She didn't believe that Yi Qing Luo dared to kill her under everyone's watchful eyes. Yi Qing Luo smiled even more enchanting. So what if I kill you? Intermediate Profound Class 2's Shangguan Liuli colluded with the dark forces and attempted to bring the dark forces into the academy's territory. Furthermore, she assisted the dark forces and harmed the academy's interests for the dark forces. Furthermore, she deceived the academy's headquarters. I'm doing this for the sake of the people. Why can't I? Her words were spoken slowly and calmly. His voice wasn't loud, but everyone on the dueling ring could hear him clearly, as well as the elders of the General Academy. Shangguan Liuli lay stiffly on the ground. The black qi in her eyes was like black smoke, flowing continuously in her pupils. Hatred, resentment, jealousy, all kinds of emotions shot out from her eyes. You're talking nonsense. Shangguan Liuli suppressed the fear in her heart. She controlled the mystical yin qi very well. Even if she used the mystical yin qi to raise her profound rank in a short period of time, she still controlled it very well. It was impossible for the old men in the headquarters to discover her connection with the dark forces. At this moment, Shangguan Liuli didn't notice at all. Black smoke-like energy had already spilled out of her eyes. Strand by strand they wrapped around her body. This was the profound yin qi, helping her to resist Yi Qing Luo's restraint. Once Shangguan Liuli's profound jade heart was suppressed by Yi Qing Luo's feet, Shangguan Liuli had no room to retaliate. The outcome of this match would soon be revealed. Shangguan Liuli could not lose. At this moment, the students from both sides who were still in the arena had already climbed up from the ground. Intermediate Profound Class 2, including Shangguan Liuli, there were still 6 students left. Devil Class, including Yi Qing Luo, there were a total of 10 students. However, there were already 3 students whose internal organs had been shaken by Shangguan Liuli's profound stage aura, and they had lost the ability to fight. They supported each other as they stood behind Yi Qing Luo, looking at each other. Go back and rest. Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways as her peripheral vision shot a glance at the pale-faced Long Yunjian. She looked away, and a trace of anger flashed through her eyes. They clearly had the strength to withstand the attacks from Shangguan Liuli and the rest of the Intermediate Profound Class 2 students. Why did he have to make himself look like this? Hiding their strength was indeed the suggestion that she had suggested earlier. But compared to hiding their strength and exploding their strength to slap those people who looked down on them, their safety was the most important. Alright? It was actually because of her suggestion earlier. This group of people actually hid their strength. Even at the last moment they didn't explode. Chapter 1153. Inexplicably, her eyes felt a little warm. She pursed her lips and lowered her voice. After the competition ends, all of you will receive your punishment. Long Yunjian and the rest were stunned. Originally they wanted to refuse to leave the stage, not wanting Yi Qing Luo to fight alone. But after hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, all the words of rejection were stuck in their throats. Long Yunjian clenched his fists tightly as his gaze swept past those students who couldn't even stand properly. Finally he lowered his eyelids and said calmly, "All the best." Saying that, he turned around and leapt off the stage without looking back. The class monitor had already jumped off the stage to forfeit the competition. The other students naturally followed suit. This action made the crowd a little puzzled. Is the devil class going to give up? Why are all of them jumping off the stage? Hasn't their belief, Yi Qing Luo, that genius young lady, rushed back? Why are they still forfeiting? Don't tell me they are all scared silly by the Intermediate Profound Class 2's ability, and don't dare to continue the battle. Numerous questioning voices were extremely clear in the crowd. The more they said, the more they got the support of numerous people. They were all certain that devil class students were terrified and didn't dare to continue the battle, so all of them fled. Isn't Yi Qing Luo still standing on the stage? Looking at the current situation, devil class obviously has the upper hand. Don't tell me. Yi Qing Luo wants to fight 1 against 6? Seems like Yi Qing Luo intends to do that. Devil class students had already jumped off the stage and returned to the waiting area, whereas Yi Qing Luo was still standing on the stage alone. According to the preliminary round rules, as long as there was a class of students on the stage, then that class wouldn't lose. Which meant to say, as long as Yi Qing Luo fought 1 against 6 and defeated Shangguan Liuli and the other 5 students from Intermediate Profound Class 2, she would still be the winner of the 3rd round. Is Yi Qing Luo looking for a beating? Didn't the Academy say earlier that the profound qi released by 5th Miss Shangguan is already an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator? Yi Qing Luo seems to be an Earth Profound 4th grade cultivator? The difference between 2 grades. As long as 5th Miss Shangguan has a chance to stand up, Yi Qing Luo has no chance to retaliate. Everyone was guessing the situation on the stage. Above the 6th grade of the Mystic Profound Realm, it was extremely difficult to advance even 1 grade. Not to mention the Earth Profound Realm, which could be counted as an expert. It was very likely that an ordinary person would be stuck for 10 or 20 years and still not be able to successfully advance a grade. Earth Profound 4th grade Yi Qing Luo was very powerful. But Earth Profound 6th grade Shangguan, Liuli could obviously rely on the difference of 2 grades to completely crush Yiqing Luo. No pressure at all. Yiqing Luo was the first to stipulate that she was not allowed to use her Battle Pets clan leader in this competition. No wonder Yiqing Luo directly stepped on Shangguan Liuli's profound jade heart the moment she came up. He had no choice but to admit that Yiqing Luo's reaction and decisiveness was indeed admirable. Just as the crowd were discussing fervently, feeling that Yiqing Luo's stomp was just right. But he saw Yiqing Luo slowly moving her feet away. Moved away? The onlookers were dumbfounded. Holy shit. This was the only way to suppress Shangguan Liuli. Why did she give up on it? Could it be that she had overheard their discussion and felt that she had an unfair advantage, so she wanted to defeat Shangguan Liuli fair and square? This young lady, was she crazy? Letting go of Shangguan Liuli was equivalent to sending herself to death. Why was this young lady so stubborn? Chapter 1154. Yiqing Luo didn't seem to understand the cries of the onlookers and couldn't wait to rush up the stage to stop her from releasing her leg. She looked calm as she released her grip on Shangguan Liuli's chest and turned back to the other side of the stage, widening the distance between the two. The moment the suppression of the profound jade heart was released, Shangguan Liuli quickly got up from the ground and stuck close to the direction of the students from the intermediate profound class 2. Looking up, what came into view was Yiqing Luo's dashing back. Shangguan Liuli frowned. Yiqing Luo deliberately let her go. But why? Yiqing Luo had no reason to do so. He chased his helper off the stage and loosened his grip on her. It was as the onlookers guessed. Yiqing Luo wanted to fight 1 against 6? Yiqing Luo was looking down on her? The darkness in Shangguan Liuli's eyes became more and more intense. A surge of anger rose from the bottom of her heart. Great! Yiqing Luo. Since you don't know what's good for you, if I don't beat you till you kneel and beg for mercy, my reputation will be ruined. My name is not Shangguan Liuli. Shangguan Liuli secretly said in her heart. Immediately, Shangguan Liuli clenched the only remaining double-edged dagger. Her figure flashed and directly stuck close to Yiqing Luo's back. The double-edged dagger was injected with profound yin qi, and a black mist lingered around the dagger. Flickering with a cold glint, it went straight to Yiqing Luo's back and then swiped across her neck. This strike carried the aura around Shangguan Liuli, thick and tyrannical. Earth Profound 6th grade Profound grade. Fully released, the terrifying aura was enough to make people tremble. If this strike fell on Yiqing Luo would die without a doubt. The onlookers' faces immediately turned solemn, and were all astonished as they looked nervously at the situation on the stage. Even if they could see that something was wrong with Shangguan Liuli, they could see that something was wrong with Shangguan Liuli's profound grade. Moreover, Shangguan Liuli's change was obviously related to the dark forces. But before the director stopped the competition and disqualified Shangguan Liuli from the competition on the stage was a competition. No one could stop it on the stage. Otherwise, it would be disrespecting the Heavenly Academy's competition system. Just when everyone's hearts were trembling with fear and anxiety, the young girl, whose back was facing Shangguan Liuli, suddenly stopped in her tracks. Shangguan Liuli's double-edged dagger was already stuck to Yiqing Luo's fair neck. Shangguan Liuli sneered, a black aura flowing in her eyes. How dare she stop in her tracks? Was he in such a hurry to die? Shangguan Liuli's hand rubbed down hard. A touch. He missed. The girl whose neck had been cut by her double-edged dagger was nowhere to be seen. Shangguan Liuli's face immediately turned aghast, and she quickly reacted by raising her dagger and slashing it towards the side of her body. A beautiful afterimage flashed past his eyes. Yiqing Luo's enchanting figure stopped a few steps away from her. The corners of his mouth curled into a mocking smile. Student Shangguan, who is at the 6th level of the Earth Profound Realm, is only SOSO. A clear and melodious laughter, with a thick sense of ridicule, rang out in the surroundings. His words were clearly heard by the onlookers. The onlookers? Holy shit! Miss, do you need to be so unreasonable? The opponent was an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator. She would be beaten to death if she was so unreasonable. However, Yiqing Luo was unreasonable, and getting more and more unreasonable. Her figure suddenly made a somersault in the air. A foot landed on Shangguan Liuli's chest. Chapter 1155. Afraid of Shangguan Liuli? Afraid of an earth-profound 6th grade Shangguan Liuli? Stop joking. She could even exchange blows with the Sky Mystic Overlord's Wolf Saint technique. Why would she be afraid of a Shangguan Liuli? If it was a real earth-profound 6th grade cultivator standing in front of her, Yiqing Luo would definitely perk up and face the battle seriously. But Shangguan Liuli's profound grade was completely pushed up by profound Yin Qi. No matter how high her profound grade was, or how strong her power was. But Shangguan Liuli herself was a waste. Shangguan Liuli had no way to control such a strong power. For example, you're a newbie, controlling a max-leveled main account, battling against a small account who was 10 over 20 levels lower than you. Although under the suppression of the level and equipment, you could easily reduce the other party's health by half. But the other party was a small account who relied on real skills to rise up. She could totally use her skills and positioning to crush your main account. Now Yiqing Luo was the same. No matter how high Shangguan Liuli's profound grade was, she could use Earth Profound 6th grade profound energy to attack her. But to Yiqing Luo, there was no need to care. In her eyes, Shangguan Liuli was merely a scum. Releasing the suppression of Shangguan Liuli's profound jade heart was indeed a choice she made after hearing the surrounding crowd's discussions. But it wasn't because she felt that she had an unfair advantage and wanted to defeat Shangguan Liuli openly. But her motive wasn't just to let Shangguan Liuli suffer a crushing defeat. What did Shangguan Liuli care about the most? Wasn't it reputation, status, and ability? Shangguan Liuli wanted to become a person above the masses, to be envied and revered by the masses. Then what she needed to do was to destroy the things that Shangguan Liuli cared about bit by bit. Setting up a blood oath with Shangguan Liuli was like this. Shangguan Liuli cooperated with the dark forces because of her. But unfortunately, Shangguan Liuli wanted to lay her hands on the people around her, manipulating Long Yunzhan to lay his hands on her, injuring Yin Xiaoyi, trying to incite a civil war in the world group. The people who humiliated her, the people who bullied her. Today on the stage, she injured the devil class's students to such a state. Shangguan Liuli. She wanted to turn her name into a joke today. She would let Shangguan Liuli have a good taste of what it was like to be unable to live or die. Ah! Shangguan Liuli let out a blood-curdling scream as her body was sent flying by the kick. His entire body fell heavily on the arena, causing the arena to explode into countless fragments. Insta-kill? It was just a simple kick. And Shangguan Liuli was sent flying? The onlookers were dumbfounded. The onlookers were stunned. In any case, Shangguan Liuli was a level 6 Earth Profound Xian practitioner. How on earth did Yiqing Luo avoid Shangguan Liuli's dagger? Her speed was actually faster than Shangguan Liuli, and he could easily kick Shangguan Liuli away. This girl. Actually, it's not just a mere Earth Profound 4th grade profound rank, right? Hearing the gasps from the crowd, as well as the disdainful gazes that landed on him, he felt a chill run down his spine. The taut string in Shangguan Liuli's mind snapped. Her little face contorted into a hideous grimace. Her eyes were filled with black mist. Yiqing Luo, I'm going to kill you. Shangguan Liuli's body was like a swift and violent wild cat, as she sprung up from the ground. The dagger in her hand slashed towards Yiqing Luo's face, without a care for her life. But Yiqing Luo only looked at her with a smile. That smile was filled with provocation and ridicule. Chapter 1156. Boss Qing Luo. Devil class's students clenched their fists as they stood up anxiously, their eyes filled with worry, even though they knew how powerful Yiqing Luo was. But Shangguan Liuli was after all an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator, who possessed profound Yin Qi. If Shangguan Liuli played dirty, and their boss Qing Luo was injured, what should they do? Looking at Shangguan Liuli waving her dagger at Yiqing Luo several times. The dagger was close to Yiqing Luo's fatal spot several times. Their hearts started to tremble uncontrollably. Who will win this duel? At the devil class's waiting area, all the class monitors, or representatives from the other classes had gathered. After seeing Devil Class and Intermediate Profound Class 2, 9 against 10, the students' views towards Devil Class had changed. Dong Huang grabbed Qi Yijing's arm tightly as he said worriedly, "Shengguan Luli is an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator and something is obviously wrong with her. Student Yi has no advantage in this battle. Don't look at the current situation." Yiqing Luo had crushed Shengguan Luli. But Shengguan Luli's profound grade rose sharply at irregular intervals and burst out powerful profound qi at irregular intervals, defeating the people on the stage. Yiqing Luo would always be at a disadvantage. Intermediate Profound Class 1's monitor rubbed his chin. Student Shengguan's ability to increase her profound grade at irregular intervals should have stopped. If he was able to continuously increase his profound strength without any restrictions, it was simply too heaven-defying. Even if the director didn't say anything, all the students were going to join hands and strongly demand an end to this unfair competition. Qing Luo will never fight a battle she has no confidence in. Long Yunzhan's cold voice suppressed the crowd's discussion. Since she asked us to give up, she must have the confidence to win. The students were stunned as they nodded their heads. Indeed so. Yiqing Luo would never do something she had no confidence in. Since she dared to do it, she must have 100% confidence, or had thought of a foolproof plan. So what if Shengguan Luli's profound grade rose sharply? Yiqing Luo would definitely win. And at this moment, Yiqing Luo, who had a faint smile on her face, calmly looked at the dagger, which was heading towards her. The dagger's black qi swirled like a hurricane, bringing along a wild wave of air. Yiqing Luo's smile became sweeter as the strong wind blew her hair and her red robe. Her face, which was already beautiful enough to topple cities, was now even more captivating. Breathtaking, stunning beauty. Shengguan Liuli's eyes were filled with black qi as a strong killing intent and battle intent surged out from her body. Shengguan Liuli's only thought at this moment was to kill Yiqing Luo, destroy Yiqing Luo's current breathtaking look. The dagger was infused with mysterious yin qi. The power of the Earth Profound 6th grade was fully unleashed as it slashed towards Yiqing Luo's face. Clang! The dagger trembled, and a sharp glint appeared. An enchanting red light pierced Shengguan Liuli's eyes. In front of him, the glowing flame fan had blocked Shengguan Liuli's double-edged dagger. From the looks of it, it was just a casual move. However, Shengguan Liuli was suppressed to the point that the dagger could not move forward at all. A twisted wrath appeared on his malevolent face. Shengguan Liuli tightened her fingers and increased the mysterious yin qi on the dagger. Her entire body was filled with a terrifying power. With a flick of her fingers, the dagger flashed past the bottom of the glower flame fan and pierced towards Yiqing Luo. But unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo seemed to have predicted her next move. At the same time as she flipped, the devouring flame fan in Yiqing Luo's hands also opened downwards at the same time. Coincidentally, it blocked Shengguan Liuli's dagger attack once again. Chapter 1157. Uft. Fresh blood spurted out from Shengguan Liuli's mouth. Like a rain of blood, it splattered on the arena. Her body, once again, was like a kite with a broken string, smashing heavily onto the ground. Shengguan Liuli coughed in pain. Every time she coughed, the blood from her heart filled her mouth. Blood spilled out from the corner of her mouth. Shengguan Liuli was battered and exhausted. Yiqing Luo still had a smile on her face in a carefree manner. At this moment, Yiqing Luo appeared to be even more stunning. The crowd had already been crushed by this scene, as they screamed out in shock. The moment Yiqing Luo went up on stage, she directly crushed Earth Profound 6th grade Shengguan Liuli, till nothing was left. How strong was Yiqing Luo? No wonder Yiqing Luo asked her injured classmates to give up first. She was wild, she was arrogant. Why? Because Yiqing Luo had the right to be arrogant and arrogant. It was just a matter of minutes for her to crush an Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator. The crowd's eyes were burning. Many of the powerhouse's representatives, the Academy's representatives, were emitting a burning feeling in their eyes. If it was possible, she really wanted to cross hands with Yiqing Luo to see how strong her ability was. Shengguan Liuli was kicked several times, her hair disheveled, like an evil spirit, battered and exhausted. Her heart was already filled with shock. But most of it was the growing hatred towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo did it on purpose. Yiqing Luo was intentionally humiliating her, making her lose face in front of the crowd. Yiqing Luo would not kill her easily. Instead, he used such a method to continuously humiliate her, causing her to be so embarrassed in front of the eyes of the public. Shangguan Liuli couldn't believe it. She was an earth-profound 6th grade cultivator. How could she be abused by Yiqing Luo? Obviously, before Yiqing Luo appeared, she was the overlord who controlled the arena. She was the goddess in everyone's eyes. She could see everyone's envy and admiration towards her in everyone's eyes. After this battle, her innate talent could totally enter the class of gods and be envied by everyone. But Yiqing Luo's appearance made Shangguan Liuli completely realize that the power which she was so proud of was simply a joke. Are you surprised that an earth-profound 6th grade cultivator is unable to defeat me? A earth-profound 4th grade cultivator? Yiqing Luo raised her brows and smiled provocatively. Shangguan Liuli raised her eyes in shock, not understanding how Yiqing Luo could guess her thoughts. She covered the sharp pain in her chest and forced herself to stand up. All his willpower was placed on the hatred towards Yiqing Luo. The power of this hatred was enough to make a spoiled young lady like her throw away all the arrogance and willfulness she once had. Only for one purpose. One, the motive of killing Yiqing Luo. Facing Shangguan Liuli's undisguised hatred and dense murderous intent, Yiqing Luo smiled calmly. Her long and narrow eyes shone with a captivating luster. Because he has the power of a 6th-level earth-profound realm, but it's just a useless body. No matter how strong his power is, the person who uses it is trash. The power of a 6th-level earth-profound realm is also trash. She paused. Her smile was brilliant, unparalleled. Her eyes swept across the stage. Those few students who were already stunned on the spot, not knowing what to do. Pardon my bluntness. She enunciated each and every word clearly. I'm not targeting anyone. I mean, everyone on the stage are all trash. One sentence made the crowd fall into a dead silence. Chapter 1158. Dumbstruck and astonished gazes were fixed on Yiqing Luo. What was Yiqing Luo saying? Not only had she humiliated Shangguan Liuli, she had also humiliated the entire class too? The crowd roared in their hearts, and almost wanted to rush up the stage to poke Yiqing Luo's brain, and ask her what was she thinking about. On the stage, there were 5 students from the intermediate profound class too. They had been silent all this while, allowing Yiqing Luo to humiliate Shangguan Liuli again and again. That was because they were shocked, so they didn't make a move. Yiqing Luo actually took the initiative to provoke those students. This was forcing those students to perform a gang fight. They knew that Yiqing Luo was arrogant, but they had not expected Yiqing Luo to be so arrogant, so presumptuous. That was simply out of the world. Just as the crowd had expected, after being ridiculed by Yiqing Luo, that they were a bunch of trash. The students from the intermediate profound class too regained their senses and revealed an angry expression as they stared at Yiqing Luo. Their muscles tensed up and their fists clenched. Each of them gritted their teeth, wishing they could tear Yiqing Luo into pieces. In their minds, they kept repeating Yiqing Luo's words of trash. Because of their successive victories, their arrogance and conceit had been humiliated by Yiqing Luo, till not even dregs were left. How could they tolerate this? So what if Yiqing Luo was powerful? Even if Shangguan Liuli was unable to display the full power of an earth-profound 6th grade. So what? They had Shangguan Liuli, and she had the profound Yin Qi on her. 6 of them. Would they be afraid of surrounding an earth-profound 4th grade Yiqing Luo? Go! For the intermediate profound class 2 to obtain victory in the preliminary round. Let that arrogant girl have a good look at our intermediate profound class 2's ability. Rubbish. Your whole family are rubbish. The students from the intermediate profound class 2 exchanged glances, and at the same time, they attacked Yiqing Luo. Strong profound qi broke out of their bodies. The air waves around them turned into a huge whirlpool. Mixed with the profound Yin Qi's cold qi, it was a strong force that almost destroyed the stage. In an instant, The stage collapsed and the gravel and wood shavings flew everywhere once again. The students from the intermediate profound class 2 had been transformed by the profound enrich. Not only had their profound grades increased tremendously, even his own attack had been enhanced. The 5 students formed an encirclement, trapping Yiqing Luo in the middle. They gripped the weapons in their hands tightly, and their eyes were filled with intense anger. The air seemed to freeze under the combined attack of the 5 people. Qing Luo's character is indeed very pure. Xiao Jin wiped off his cold sweat, provoking the enemy without saying a word. 1 against 6 at the slightest disagreement. They didn't even think about how worried their group of brothers were when they were sitting at the side and watching. Those 5 students from intermediate profound class 2 had already made a deal with the dark forces. They had clearly felt the power of those students just now. If it were them, they would be surrounded by 5 people at the same time. Even if he didn't die, he would be crippled. As for Yiqing Luo, she was still smiling and standing in the same place without the slightest change in expression. Her eyes were curved and her expression was indifferent. He didn't seem to care about the attacks of the 5 students at all. Immediately, the 5 students' fighting spirit was aroused. The flames on his body surged once more. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly like a flower. "You guys overestimate yourselves." Her cold voice and arrogant words reverberated around the entire stage. The feather fan between her fingers suddenly flipped over in her palm. Like a ball of burning flame, it spun around in her palm. The feather fan opened up and gave off a shocking red glow. In a split second, the surroundings were covered with hot air. Chapter 1159. The glower flame fan in Yiqing Luo's hands seemed to have a soul of its own. With a few twirls, it headed straight for the chests of the 5 students who were surrounding and attacking him. A strong aura surged into the sky. As the feather fan moved, burst out a burst of swoosh swoosh sound. Under the revolutions, because of inertia, after the 5 students were brushed past by the glower flame fan, they all staggered and fell onto the ground. Buzz buzz. Bam. A deafening explosion sounded, causing the surroundings of the arena to explode into dust. The surrounding was covered in white. The spectators couldn't see clearly, but Yiqing Luo, who was in the dust, could see it clearly. Just as the glower flame fan brushed past the 5 students, Shangguan Luli, who was originally lying on the ground, leaped up. Holding the double-edged dagger in her hand, she took the opportunity to sneak an attack. This strike was obviously the real power, which was brought out after the profound enrich was reintegrated. It was thick and powerful, and it caused people to be astonished. If it was any other devil class students, they would not be able to avoid this move. Yiqing Luo's reaction was extremely swift. She immediately raised her hand and called back the glower flame fan, which was still revolving in midair. She flipped her hand and swiftly blocked the dagger. The alluring red glow and that piercing silver light collided fiercely. The strong profound enrich took the opportunity to swiftly coil around Yiqing Luo's wrist. The black smoke-like profound enrich, with an extremely fast speed, swallowed Yiqing Luo's arm. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. This profound enrich wanted to take the opportunity to swallow her? She really didn't change. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold as the feather fan flipped once again. The alluring red glow, from the place where the 2 of them collided, overflowed once again. In an instant it swallowed the profound enrich into the red glow. Shangguan Luli's expression changed greatly. She immediately retracted her hand, trying to avoid Yiqing Luo's counterattack. But that smear of red glow was even more powerful than the profound enrich. It could totally suppress the profound enrich, to the extent that she was unable to release the profound enrich. Yiqing Luo. How could she possibly have a way to suppress the profound enrich? Profound enrich. Wasn't it the same as the legend? Was there no way to break it? Why was it that Yiqing Luo was able to use her profound qi to restrain the dark forces, profound lunar secret method, to the extent that it was unable to be displayed? This was the reason why Yiqing Luo totally disregarded her? Shangguan Lili was shocked. The crowd went crazy. Everyone's blood was stirred up by this exciting duel. Even they who were outside the barrier could feel the powerful aura. On the general courtyard side, other than Senior Mo, the other three elders all stood up as they looked at Yiqing Luo agitatedly. The dean and the elders immediately stood up as well. His face was filled with worry. However, there was a trace of hostility hidden in the dean's eyes. Shangguan Liuli, that trash. He actually made a mess of things. Not only did he not get rid of the devil class, instead, he had exposed his identity and dragged the dark forces into this. If the Heavenly Academy was implicated, his position as the dean would be in jeopardy. Shangguan Liuli, from the first day we entered the academy, you viewed me as your enemy. However, since you are trash, I have never taken you seriously. Yiqing Luo spoke calmly, as her gaze turned cold. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Especially those who offend the people around me, repeatedly hurting my brothers by my side. Her pink lips curled into a smile. Chapter 1160. Bam Bam Bam. Following Yiqing Luo's words, a deafening roar pierced through the sky. The energy waves and smoke filled the entire arena. The crowd couldn't see clearly what had happened on the arena. Silence reigned. There was dead silence. The crowd's gaze kept searching around the arena. They wanted to know who was the one who burst out such a strong aura and defeated the opponent. Bam! Another explosion rang out. The entire arena exploded with a loud bang. The arena, which occupied 1/3 of the West Square, collapsed. Collapsed? The arena actually collapsed? The enchantment which enveloped the arena also collapsed at this moment. The horrifying aura was like a hurricane as it attacked the surrounding crowd. Everyone could clearly sense the strong aura emitted from the enchantment. The continuous energy was almost enough to destroy the heaven and earth. There were quite a number of high-ranking cultivators who had experienced the battlefield. At this moment, they were completely stunned by this horrifying profound qi. The smoke dispersed. Gradually, a slender figure appeared. Her red robe danced, dazzling and gorgeous, enchanting and amorous. Her every move was exuding a fatal temptation. She floated peacefully in midair, holding a red feather fan that was as red as fire. It was Yiqing Luo. Was it really Yiqing Luo? She actually released such a powerful energy. The young lady who was called trash by everyone. The young lady who was spurned by countless people. But time and time again, she blossomed with her own brilliance. She wanted to show everyone how powerful she was. Looking at the collapsed arena, the rubble and wooden planks were pressing on the Intermediate Profound Class 2 students. 5 Intermediate Profound Class 2 students had long lost their fighting power and fainted. While Shangguan Liuli was lying in the rubble, a heavy wooden plank was pressing on half of her body. Her entire face was pale from the pain, sweat dripping down. The uniform on her body was already covered with blood and was tattered. She looked extremely disheveled. The crowd stared blankly at this scene. Shock, astonishment, and finally full of shock. Just one person defeated the opponent. Earth Profound 6th grade cultivator, plus 5 high-leveled cultivators. And her moves were so casual, as though she didn't use her full strength, and it was just a casual battle. It was too shocking. Butler Shangguan sat in his own area, feeling like he was sitting on pins and needles, facing the Yuchi third head's mocking gaze, as well as Zhu Wuxin's cold and emotionless gaze. The Yuchi third head's expression changed. Butler Shangguan's heart was filled with apprehension. How could this be? How did the situation suddenly turn like this? Wasn't his family's 5th miss already at the 6th grade Earth Profound realm? Even with 5 students from the Intermediate Profound Class 2, they still had no way to defeat Yiqing Luo. This was like slapping the Shangguan family in the face. Housekeeper Shangguan's face turned ashen as he clenched his fists and stood up abruptly, pointing at Yiqing Luo as he berated. Yiqing Luo, it was just a competition organized by the academy, yet you actually dared to be so ruthless to your fellow student. This is simply inhumane. Immediately, the Shangguan family's forces followed suit, determined to seek justice from Yiqing Luo. Coincidentally, even though Three Springs sect knew that Yiqing Luo was going to take part in such an important competition, no one from the Yi family came to watch the battle. The Shangguan family was relying on the fact that Three Springs sect would not stand up for a vile spawn like Yiqing Luo. So they angrily opened their mouth to seek justice for their fifth Mississippi inhumane. Yi Ching Luo couldn't help but sneer when she heard that. Her slender brows knitted slightly as her cold gaze fell onto Butler Shangguan, since the Shangguan family had to jump out. Chapter 1161. Yi Ching Luo turned around and walked directly towards Shangguan Liuli, who was pinned down by the wooden plank. Her pink lips rose slightly. Her smile was enchanting and full of sarcasm. So, this is the human nature of the Shangguan family. Only Shangguan Liuli is allowed to kill me, but I'm not allowed to retaliate? Earlier, Shangguan Liuli's every strike, obviously attacking Yi Ching Luo's vital point. Every strike was fatal and merciless. She laughed softly. Her eyes were filled with ridicule. The so-called human nature of the Shangguan family has opened my eyes. In this way, I will continue to use the human nature of the Shangguan family to carry on the human nature to the end. Housekeeper Shangguan's face sunk instantly. He didn't expect Yi Ching Luo to directly implicate the Shangguan family. As the representative of the Shangguan family, Housekeeper Shangguan couldn't allow the Shangguan family's reputation to be tarnished. Immediately, he slammed the table and roared. It's obviously you who injured our fifth miss to this extent. Still trying to quibble? Yi Ching Luo snorted disdainfully. Her eyes swept across the various forces' representatives, the school's representatives, and smiled sweetly. The crowd's eyes are clear. Who is right and who is wrong in the competition, the crowd is clear. The Shangguan family sent out such an ignorant person to be the representative of the Shangguan family. It was simply a disgrace to the Shangguan family. Logically, when such a thing happened, even if it was the Shangguan family, they still had to avoid the eye of the storm, or even to directly attack Shangguan Liuli, to protect the Shangguan family's reputation. But this housekeeper Shangguan rushed out to protect Shangguan Liuli and directly accused others. Yi Ching Luo didn't know what words to use to ridicule this self-righteous, benevolent housekeeper Shangguan. That housekeeper Shangguan indeed didn't let Yi Ching Luo down. After hearing Yi Ching Luo's ridicule, housekeeper Shangguan directly swept a cold gaze across everyone present, his face gloomy. Shuel Yang? This housekeeper wants to see. What the crowd saw was you bullying the Shangguan family's fifth miss, and even trying to kill her. It's really our fifth miss who attacked you. These words were said beautifully, since Yi Ching Luo went on stage. It was indeed Yi Ching Luo who crushed Shangguan Liuli one-sidedly. Shangguan Liuli's several ruthless attacks were perfectly avoided by Yi Ching Luo, and even retaliated. He hadn't succeeded even once in his attempts. However, it didn't mean that she had to take a stab from Shangguan Liuli to be considered to have been killed. The funny thing was, housekeeper Shangguan still thought that he was making a statement at the Western Continent's Power Conference. He actually wanted to use his identity as a member of the Shangguan family to threaten the onlookers. The people here were all forces from all over the Nirvana realm. A mere Shangguan clan, one of the four great clans of the Western Continent. How could they possibly put them in their eyes? Not to mention, if one were to talk about status, the person on the stage was the rightful young master of the Three Springs sect, the seventh miss of the Yi clan. After all, the Three Springs sect was one of the four major sects in the Nirvana realm, the strongest force in the West Continent. Any one of the forces present would step forward. Their status isn't lower than the Shangguan family, okay? Hearing housekeeper Shangguan's words, Yi Ching Luo almost laughed her teeth off. He was not afraid of a godlike opponent, but he was afraid of a pig-like teammate. Butler Shangguan was simply a godly assistant. There was no need for her to deliberately guide him. Butler Shangguan had attracted the hatred of all the forces. If nothing unexpected happened, at this time tomorrow, the Shangguan clan should completely become history. Yi Ching Luo smiled as she glanced at the representatives whose faces were getting darker and darker. The arc of her lips deepened. Chapter 1162. Yi Ching Luo cleared her throat and pointed to the disheveled lady by her feet and shouted. Fifth Miss Shangguan didn't hesitate to trade her soul with the dark forces in order to win the competition, in exchange for powerful strength. This kind of behavior is not only deceiving the academy, but also deceiving all of you who have sharp eyes. The so-called competition, the so-called open competition, is not only judged by the Academy, everyone here is also a judge. After the battle in the tomb of the Ling King, I'm sure all of you have an idea of what the dark forces are like. The purpose of the dark forces is definitely to invade the Nirvana realm and rule over it. Speaking till here, Yiqing Luo intentionally paused for a moment. Sure enough, he saw the serious expressions on the onlookers' faces. Who would want their territory to be occupied by an unknown force? Who would want the so-called dark forces to invade their Nirvana realm? Even though they had been fighting openly and covertly for many years, because of the division of land between the 4 continents. Even when outsiders intended to invade their territory, they would somehow unite as one. Ever since the tomb of the Ling King, all the forces in the Nirvana realm had thoroughly understood the history of the dark forces. Dark forces, the existence that was spurned by the Nirvana realm. It was a force that only knew how to use evil arts and secret arts to seek benefits. They did not hesitate to stain their hands with blood. It was said that 1,000 years ago, the dark forces wanted to use sorcery to conquer the Nirvana realm. It was the gods of the upper realm who descended to the mortal world to stop the catastrophe of the Nirvana realm. It was said that in that battle, the dark forces were prepared to kill tens of thousands of profound practitioners in the Nirvana realm, and use the blood of the profound practitioners to summon the dark demonic beasts that were in deep slumber to fight to the death with the upper realm. In the end, he was stopped by the gods of the upper realm, killing 10,000 profound practitioners. The dark forces were willing to sacrifice tens of thousands of profound practitioners just to summon a magical beast. One could imagine how savage they were. How could the Nirvana realm allow such a force to invade? Shangguan Liuli, the 5th miss of the Shangguan clan, ignored the safety of the Nirvana realm for her own selfish desires, and blindly joined the dark forces. I'm very suspicious now. Is it only the 5th Miss Shangguan who is involved with the dark forces? Or, the entire Shangguan family has long been the dark forces' nest in the Nirvana realm? His words set off a huge wave. Butler Shangguan's expression changed drastically, and he trembled in exasperation. You're slandering me. The Shangguan family was innocent, so how could they be involved with the dark forces? In order to avoid responsibility, you actually came up with such a ridiculous excuse. What are your intentions? His repeated questioning made him appear to be speaking righteously. However, the question and his words made people unable to restrain their laughter. Butler Shangguan, aren't your words a little unreasonable? Third head Yuchi rubbed his round belly and said with a smile, I'm already over 50 years old. Bullying a little girl is a disgrace to the Shangguan family. He hadn't expected that the Yuchi family would also take the opportunity to insult the Shangguan family. Butler Shangguan's face turned green and red. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. The Yuchi third head continued to laugh. The unknown black gas on 5th Miss Shangguan's body, as well as the inexplicable increase in her profound level, are very telling. The onlookers nodded repeatedly. They weren't blind. How could they not see the strange black gas that flowed around Shangguan Liuli during the competition? Every time the black gas thickened, Shangguan Liuli's profound level would begin to increase. Chapter 1163. The crowd's eyes were absolutely sharp. Housekeeper Shangguan insisted on pushing the blame to student Yi. It's a disgrace to the family. After saying that, third head Yuchi sighed lightly and shook his head helplessly. He seemed to be disappointed with the Shangguan family. Third head Yuchi, you're helping Yiqing Luo, and being so overbearing. Are you trying to bully the Shangguan family? Housekeeper Shangguan gritted his teeth. He stood out in a hurry, just to show his loyalty in front of the Shangguan family. Shangguan Luli was the darling of the Shangguan family. Especially after Shangguan Luli's strength had undergone an earth-shattering change. The Shangguan family doted on Shangguan Luli even more. Moreover, he had already found out. The patriarch of the Shangguan family had the intention to pass the position to Shangguan Luli. Now Shangguan Luli was being insulted. Housekeeper Shangguan naturally defended her. Unexpectedly, he was attacked by various forces instead, and even dragged the Shangguan family into the vortex of rumors. Housekeeper Shangguan was completely anxious. He absolutely could not let the Shangguan family's reputation be tarnished. He absolutely could not let the Shangguan family become the target of public criticism. I'm overbearing? Third head Yuchi laughed even more cheerfully. He stood up directly. His big belly and bloated body didn't affect his agility at all. In just a few steps, he had already returned to the Yuchi family's area of influence. His gaze fixed on the waiting area for the masters. If not, we can ask the Master of Intermediate Profound Class 2 to explain. Before this, what level was 5th Miss Shangguan's profound grade? The Master of Intermediate Profound Class 2, who was called, immediately stood up. Facing the countless gazes thrown at him, he was sweating profusely, and after a while, he said with a dry throat, "Yesterday before we set off, I specially checked all the students' school badges, Shangguan. Student Shangguan's profound grade shows Earth profound grade." And before that, third head Yuchi continued to ask. The master of second class sweated even more fiercely. Mystic profound grade 5. Third head Yuchi did not continue to question, and gently let the master of second class sit down. Soon after, he turned his head around, and looked at the sea of people in the area of the various forces. He smiled warmly. 5th level of the profound realm, soaring to the earth profound realm in one leap. Moreover, in the short span of a day, advancing 6 levels in succession. He clicked his tongue and said, "It seems that the 5th Miss of the Shangguan family is a rare genius that only appears once in 1,000 years. From the 5th stage of the profound mystic realm, he advanced to the profound earth realm. It would take at least half a year, and at most 8 to 10 years. In Shangguan Liuli's case, it was as if she could rise to the earth profound realm in a matter of minutes. As for the ranks after the earth profound realm, the process of advancing a rank was even more difficult than the process of breaking through from the profound realm to the earth profound realm. Not to mention, in the blink of an eye, it rose 5 ranks and then another. Such an existence. He was even more of a genius than the genius profounders. Even the students of the class of gods would not be able to do this. The representative of the Shangguan family immediately blushed. How could he refute it? Coincidentally, the dean, who had been silent all this while, slowly stood up. That dignified gaze burned like a torch. His tall and sturdy body was trembling slowly. Great! What a good intermediate profound class 2. What a good Shangguan Liuli. He flew into a rage, but suppressed it and maintained the demeanor of the dean. Seeing that the dean had spoken, the various forces immediately stopped their discussions. After all, this was the Heavenly Academy's class competition. This was also a student of the Heavenly Academy. Chapter 1164. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows leisurely as she crossed her arms over her chest. After staying silent for so long, the director finally chose to give up on Shangguan Liuli. This chess piece? Come to think of it, the matter of Shangguan Liuli collaborating with the dark forces was completely confirmed by the onlookers. If the director learned from the Shangguan family and chose to protect Shangguan Liuli, the director would definitely be implicated in this. It was highly possible that his own transactions with the dark forces would be discovered. In order to protect himself, sacrificing Shangguan Liuli was necessary. As students of the Heavenly Academy, colluding with the dark forces in an attempt to cheat and muddle through, I, the director of the Heavenly Academy, announce once again that the qualification of Intermediate Class 2 is cancelled, and all the students of Intermediate Class 2 are ordered to leave the Academy. The director suppressed his anger in his voice as he announced the words that he had been cursing in his heart for a long time. Immediately, it aroused the protests of the other students of Intermediate Class 2. There were only a few students who were duped by Shangguan Liuli and made a deal with the dark forces. The rest of the students were innocent. As for the so-called dark forces, they knew nothing at all. How could they face the judgment of disqualification and even be ordered to leave the academy when they didn't know anything? How could they be reconciled to this? The director's stern voice interrupted the other students' protests. The so-called class is all about team spirit. A student doing such a devoid of conscience and leading so many students to be involved with the dark forces. As students of the same class, you didn't notice the strangeness of your fellow students, and took the initiative to report it to the Master of Justice, or the director. Naturally, all the students will be punished together. Those students were speechless. Work hard to get into the Heavenly Academy. Work hard to get into the intermediate class too. Work hard to graduate from the Heavenly Academy, and get everyone's recognition. But today, everything had been destroyed. They who were expelled from the Heavenly Academy would not be recruited by other academies, unless they had outstanding talent, unless they had special skills. This also meant that the rest of their lives were completely ruined. Director. The master of Intermediate Class 2 stood up hesitantly. It was Shangguan Liuli's fault alone, but she vented her anger on the entire class. This was really unfair to the other students. However, just as he was about to plead for leniency, but he was interrupted by the dean's cold voice. The Intermediate Profound Class 2's teacher did not fulfill his responsibility to guide the students. He knew that Shangguan Liuli's profound rank had risen abnormally, but he did not report to the higher-ups about Shangguan Liuli's abnormality, harboring the intention of shielding her. From now on, your headmaster's title token will be revoked, and you will never be a headmaster again. The teacher of Class 2's words were completely stuck in his throat. His face was ashen as he sat down in a daze. Revoke the headmaster's position badge? Never to be a headmaster again? This punishment was too cruel. Principal. The teacher of the second class uttered in a trembling voice. He had been teaching in the academy for decades. Even if he had not made any contributions, he had put in a lot of effort. However, the dean did not hesitate to uproot everything, not even giving him a chance to live. The Heavenly Academy is absolutely open and fair. If something like this happens again, this dean will definitely not let it off lightly. With that, the headmaster cupped his fists and bowed deeply in the direction of the headmaster. Without another word, he turned and left the West Lawn Square. The headmaster of the general courtyard did not blame him for his behavior. After all, in front of so many people, the Heavenly Academy that had always scored full marks, and had won the title of Best Academy for several times consecutively. This time the negative comments came one after another. Chapter 1165. Yiqing Luo kept her feather fan lazily. With a bored look she yawned. Then she stretched her body lazily. She didn't bother about the messy scene, Shangguan Liuli who was dead or alive, and directly returned to Devil Class's area. Too weak, it's like cutting cabbages, so boring. Yiqing Luo leisurely walked to Long Yunjian, as she ridiculed. Her voice wasn't soft. The crowd in the front row could still hear it. Immediately, the crowd gave a thumbs up once again. A big word of admiration to Yiqing Luo. Yun Duan coughed lightly. The preliminary round was full of surprises, but today's competition has finally come to an end. At this moment, the crowd's attention obviously couldn't be focused on the competition. Today's matter, if it was to be settled, it would be very tricky. Yun Duan immediately announced. The preliminary round's winner class is Devil Class. Congratulations to Devil Class for entering the finals. After the announcement he said a few more words, and directly announced the end of the preliminary round. Very quickly, the Academy's guards carried the few Intermediate Profound Class 2 students who were lying in the ruins. Finally, they carried Shangguan Liuli away. Housekeeper Shangguan at this moment didn't dare to say a word. He watched helplessly as the guards carried away his fifth Mississippi. Then he led a bunch of Shangguan powerful people back to the Shangguan family with his tail between his legs, to inform the Shangguan family head about this matter. Alright, dismissed, go back and rest. Yiqing Luo waved her hand, indicating for everyone to support the injured back to the dormitory. She skipped back to Dmo Xian's side, raised her head, looked at the smooth lines under the golden mask, her charming eyes curved. How was my performance? He lowered his eyes. The dazzling peach blossom eyes through the mask could still scorch her heart. Yiqing Luo's face turned slightly red, as her hands tightened. Nonsense. Dmo Xian spat out the words softly. His slender fingers poked Yiqing Luo's forehead. and immediately pinched her delicate nose bridge. So arrogant. Aren't you afraid of angering Shangguan Luli, forcing her to release the real profound yin qi? By then the one who will be at a disadvantage will be you. Yi Qing Luo struggled from being pinched, just based on that kind of waste, and she wants to release the real profound yin qi? Ah Xian, you think too highly of her. He was enraged. The darkness in Shangguan Liuli's heart would only be grasped by the dark forces, as well as her unreasonable hatred and resentment. Then, he would listen to the temptation of the dark forces, and choose to sacrifice himself in exchange for greater power. He would never understand. He made use of the dark force's mysterious yin energy to fight against the wind. What's more, Ah Xian is here, I'm not afraid. Yi Qing Luo smiled elegantly, and rested her head on Dmo Xian's shoulder. Dmo Xian released her nose in satisfaction. His long and narrow peach blossom eyes were gleaming. Apparently Yi Qing Luo's words had successfully pleased him. The victorious group left the battlefield in a grandiose manner, heading straight for the direction of the dormitory. All the powerhouses were full of goodwill towards the devil class. One by one, they seized the opportunity to step forward and extend their olive branches. They were all sent away by Yi Qing Luo with a smile. The crowd surged. Zhu Wuxin, who was originally sitting on the Shangguan clan's side, had already retreated into the crowd. His cold and indifferent eyes stared unblinkingly at the petite figure surrounded by the crowd. Her red clothes fluttered like fire. In this world, she was the only one who could suppress such a heavy and oppressive red robe. Chapter 1166. What do you think of her? His thin lips opened slightly, and an emotionless voice spilled out from his lips. Behind him, an illusory figure that seemed to have blended into the air was faintly discernible. Castle Lord. This subordinate feels that this woman is extremely hot-tempered. She's too arrogant, conceited, and wild. She's not easy to control. Zhu Wuxin was silent for a moment. After a while he nodded slightly and said, indeed. The current Yi Qing Luo had a strong character, totally different from the past her. Arrogant, egotistical, seemed to have become synonyms for Yi Qing Luo. That was a phrase that was tailor-made for Yi Qing Luo. But the illusory figure paused, seemingly probing Zhu Wuxian's emotions. Her arrogance is not hateful. Instead, I feel that she was born to be like this. After answering, the illusory figure half knelt on the ground. After a long time, Zhu Wuxin's voice did not ring out. Zhu Wuxin retracted his gaze. The darkness in his eyes became even thicker. That's right. Yi Qing Luo's insolence could not incite anyone's disgust. She was born strong. They were born to stand at the peak and look down on the rest of the world. But it's not like that. His Yi Qing Luo, it shouldn't be like this. Zhu Wuxin closed his eyes tightly, not willing to let this strange emotion disturb his heart. Devil class's complete victory caused the devil class to be on fire. These were the students who were once despised by everyone, the students who were called trash. Before Yi Qing Luo could rush over, they had consecutively won 2 matches. Although the process was a bit despicable, but the result was still satisfactory. Before Yi Qing Luo rushed over, no matter how tough it was, or how heavily injured he was, he still refused to admit defeat without any hesitation. This kind of firm belief, even those profound practitioners who had experienced many battles might not be able to achieve this. Devil class had conquered everyone not only because of Yi Qing Luo's ability and the spirit of the other students. Yi Qing Luo looked at the room filled with delicacies, but no one touched their chopsticks, as each and every one of the students were drinking excitedly, as her lips curled into a faint smile. After joking around with them for a while, Yi Qing Luo made an excuse to check on Yi Fengyu's injuries and left the celebration banquet with Dmo Xian, just as he was about to leave the restaurant and head for the dormitory. But she was held by Dmo Xian as he pulled her to another private room. Compared to the liveliness of the devil class's room, this huge private room seemed exceptionally quiet. Yi Qing Luo was just about to open her mouth when she suddenly discovered a tall figure sitting on the seat in the private room. Then, Ah Xian? That person, wasn't he Supreme Mo? Yi Qing Luo immediately turned her head to look at the person beside her. and then looked at Senior Mo, who was seated not too far away. This was the method that DMO Xian mentioned? Without being detected by the headquarters or the dark forces, he was Supreme Mo's method? Using a fake Supreme Mo to place her here. The Supreme Mo would directly go and save her. No matter who it was, they would not think that Senior Mo and DMO Xian were the same person. Ah Feng, how's the situation? DMO Xian pulled Yi Qing Luo's little hand and pulled her to the side to sit. This Supreme Mo was Ah Feng in disguise. Ah Feng shook his head slowly. I'm afraid the HQ doesn't plan to interfere with the dark forces. That bunch of old fools. The dark forces didn't cause trouble for them, so they don't care. DMO Xian's inky black eyes narrowed slightly. Then create a small accident, to let them take note of the dark forces. Ah Feng cupped his fist in the other hand. Yes. What headquarters? You intend to let the headquarters take action to investigate Heavenly Academy? Yi Qing Luo was slightly dazed from what she heard. DMO Xian glanced sideways. The chilliness in his eyes had already faded. Chapter 1167. Dark Forces and Heavenly Academy's matters should have been settled by Yi Qing Luo personally. A self-reliant lady like Yi Qing Luo refused to rely on others. DMO Xian knew about it, but he intervened. He also told Yi Qing Luo openly, "The dark forces have tried to kill you time and time again. I can't remain indifferent." DMO Xian's voice was slightly apologetic. The hand that was caressing Yi Qing Luo's fine black hair also paused slightly. Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she closed his wide palm. I know, your motive is to investigate the Heavenly Academy, but for me, you intentionally gave up on the Academy's investigation. As intelligent as she was, how could she not see through DMO Xian's intention and motive? Would a venerable sovereign deliberately disguise himself as Senior Mo and sneak into the headquarters? It must be related to the Heavenly Academy. DMO Xian was stunned for a moment before a trace of gentleness flashed past his brows. His long arm scooped and brought Yi Qing Luo into his embrace as his chin rested on her shoulder. Lil Luo, you have indeed won my heart. DMO Xian sighed faintly. Yes, I used revered Mo's identity to infiltrate the headquarters, in order to get close to the Heavenly Academy's director, to find out the reason for the disappearance of the Heavenly Academy's students. The Heavenly Academy is the best academy over the years, and should be the role model for all the other academies. But unfortunately, there are more than 15 missing students in the Heavenly Academy every year, and there is no news leaked out. Yi Qing Luo raised her head. Her eyes flickered as she looked at him. You also know about the disappearance of the Heavenly Academy students? I naturally wouldn't know about this kind of thing. But it just so happened that one of the missing students was the disciple of the Emperor Palace's disciple. I felt that this matter was fishy, so I investigated it. Students had gone missing, young profound practitioner students had gone missing. If it was just one or two of them, DMO Xian would not think too much about it. However, there were at least 15 of them every year, and this went on for several years without a break. That was definitely abnormal. There were many secret arts and magical arts that required the blood of young profound practitioners. DMO Xian was unable to ascertain the Heavenly Academy's conspiracy, what kind of secret technique was needed, or what kind of conspiracy was achieved. The only thing he could be sure of was, if the Heavenly Academy's conspiracy were to come true, the entire Nirvana realm would probably undergo a huge change. As the palace master of the #1 imperial palace in the Nirvana realm, he was respectfully addressed as Lord Dizun, and was revered by everyone. DMO Xian was also extremely protective. The missing student was related to the imperial palace. DMO Xian naturally snuck into the main courtyard. Now that we know that the principal of the Heavenly Academy is colluding with the dark forces, and using the souls of the students as a sacrifice for the King of Darkness to break the seal, what do you intend to do? Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips tightly. The things that the dark forces were involved in were no longer just her personal grudges. If DMO Xian were to intervene, it would be within reason. She would not stubbornly refuse to rely on DMO Xian, nor would she go against the dark forces to the death. I need evidence. Dmo Xian's slender fingers drew across her tightly pursed lips, forcefully prying open her lips. Now we can confirm one thing. The dark forces are extremely interested in this profound heart jade of yours, towards you as a person. It is very likely that you are the key to unlocking the King of Darkness seal. Yiqing Luo's pupils suddenly widened. She also forgot to bite the finger that was pressed against her lips. She stared at Dmo Xian in a daze, as her heart shook. She knew that the dark forces wanted to get their hands on her profound heart jade. But she had never thought of the reason why the dark forces kept on harassing her, getting close to her, and making a move on the people around her. It was because Chapter 1168. That's just a guess. Dmo Xian lowered his head as he gently kissed her forehead. Don't think too much. Yiqing Luo snuggled into his arms as her arms circled around his firm waist. No matter if I'm the key or not, the profound heart jade in my body, as well as me, is extremely useful to the King of Darkness. Dmo Xian tightened his grip on her slender waist. I'm here. Just 3 simple words made Yiqing Luo's heart feel a sense of stability. Yiqing Luo's lips curled as she cupped Dmo Xian's face as her dimples blossomed. Xian, don't worry. I will not give the dark forces any chance to get the profound heart jade. This competition, I will definitely win. The two of them looked at each other with tender and sweet feelings. Wind, who was sitting stiffly by the side, bore Supreme Mo's elegant face with a gloomy expression, until his gaze made Yiqing Luo feel uncomfortable. Yiqing Luo then recalled that there was another Wind in the private room. She awkwardly moved away from Dmo Xian's arms as she coughed lightly. She had just moved when the long arm around her waist suddenly increased its strength. Yiqing Luo staggered as she fell into the man's arms behind her. Yiqing Luo's face flushed slightly as her little hand patted Dmo Xian's hand lightly. What else is there? Dmo Xian's large palm caught hold of her moving little hand. His slender fingertips gently scratched the center of her palm. Yiqing Luo's face turned even redder as she stared at the man angrily. Wen turned a blind eye to their flirting as he answered Dmo Xian's question. The Overlord met with an attack in his dormitory. The Imperial Palace's disciples have already intervened. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned when she heard that. She glanced sideways at the man who was hugging her waist and playing with her little hand. The Imperial Palace's disciples intervened? Dmo Xian's thin lips curled slightly as he held her little hand and brought it to his lips. I said before, I will destroy. Wolf. Saint. Force. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed. Those sparkling eyes made her heart beat nonstop with a thump-thump sound. For her, to destroy Wolf Saint's forces. For her, to provoke the dark forces before she was clear of the dark forces' true power. Just for her. Since Wolf Saint Dharma dared to send people to kill us in the dormitory, he's naturally prepared to become enemies with the Imperial Palace. Dmo Xian looked at the little woman whose eyes were filled with emotions, and his lips curled into a magnificent smile. He naturally has to pay the price for his own actions. The Wolf Saint Fa's heart was filled with fear because of Dmo Xian's words. Thinking of striking first to gain the upper hand, he sent Wolf Saint's protectors to surround Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian, attempting to make them die in the dormitory. But he had never thought that over 100 dark protectors were no match for the two of them. Instead, it gave Dmo Xian an open and aboveboard reason to annihilate Wolf Saint's forces. As Lord Dizun, everything he did attracted the attention of all forces. No matter what you do, you need a reason. The Wolf Saint Law took the initiative to send a reason to Dmo Xian. The opportunity could not be missed, and it would not come again. The Overlord was attacked by the dark forces in his dormitory. Such a reason was enough for Dmo Xian to annihilate Wolf Saint's forces. Dmo Xian, the strongest person in the Nirvana realm, was the legend of the Nirvana realm. Dmo Xian was attacked by the dark forces. Wasn't this a blatant slap on the Nirvana realm's face? Then you must be careful. Yiqing Luo didn't stop Dmo Xian's actions. If this matter blew up, it would make the various forces in the Nirvana realm unable to tolerate the arrogance of the dark forces. Everyone would have the same thought. Look, the the dark forces even dared to attack our overlord. Chapter 1169. If it wasn't for the hundreds of dark guardians who blocked her and Emotion's path, Long Yunjan and the rest wouldn't have to suffer so much on the arena. The dark forces would never be able to experience that. When Kitty Lee followed her scent and found her way to the dormitory, she told her about the situation on the arena. How furious she was in her heart. How vexed. How unresigned. These emotions were tormenting her bit by bit. Those cold-hearted people from the dark forces would never understand her feelings. All along, it was the dark forces who led them by their noses. This time round, they would let Emotion start the first battle. It was time to retaliate. Shangguan residence. The meeting hall was filled with dead silence. Shangguan family's patriarch stood beside the main seat, and a middle-aged man stood beside him with a broken teacup by his feet, swaying slightly. The entire meeting hall was filled with people kneeling on the ground. The one at the front was a woman dressed in luxurious clothes, sobbing as though she was about to stop breathing. Beside that woman was a wooden pole. The person lying on it was Shangguan Liuli, who was covered with wounds and blood. Shangguan Liuli's legs had been crushed and her entire body was covered with Yiqing Luo's profound qi and the actual beating, causing her external and internal injuries to be extremely serious. Lying on the wooden pole, she didn't even have the energy to move. Master, this competition was obviously done by that slut Yiqing Luo. It has nothing to do with our Liuli. The woman cried and screamed at the middle-aged man. This woman was Shangguan Liuli's biological mother, the second wife of the Shangguan family, Madame Li. Shangguan family's patriarch banged the table fiercely. Death is at hand and you still don't know how to repent. After banging the table, he couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. Listening to Madame Li's crying voice, frustration welled up in his heart. He raised his leg and gave Madame Li a hard kick. Madame Li was in a daze from the kick. The sharp pain in her chest made her react. She immediately screamed and cried till the sky darkened. Master, how can you be so heartless? Liuli had spent so much effort in this competition. You should know better than anyone else. Just lost a competition, and Master actually treated your own biological daughter in this way. Liuli's injuries are so serious. Master, are you really going to let Liuli continue to suffer? She questioned him with a sobbing tone. It was as if she was about to put on a show of crying, making a fuss, and threatening to hang herself. The master of the Shangguan clan's face turned gloomy. Soon after, he quickly rushed in front of Madame Li and grabbed her by the collar. Little woman, you don't know the seriousness of this matter. Father, Shangguan Liuli, who was lying on the wooden pole, weakly called out to the Shangguan family master. That pale little face was stained with blood. His turbid eyes were powerless to open. When the head of the Shangguan clan heard the voice, he loosened his grip on Madame Li's collar. His gaze was complicated and pained. He had doted on and protected Shangguan Liuli for so many years. Furthermore, she was his own daughter. How could he not be heartbroken to see her like this? But this time, Shangguan Liuli had made a huge mistake. Liuli, you've really disappointed me. Do you know that because of you, because of your vanity, the Shangguan family has been completely destroyed? Losing the match didn't matter. A 16-year-old girl. Even if she lost, there were still endless possibilities in the future. But Chapter 1170. Colluding with the dark forces. Using her own soul to obtain the dark secret skill and raise the profound level. This matter. Not only did Shangguan Liuli do whatever it takes to win the interclass competition, it completely turned into the entire Shangguan family had become the nest of the dark forces. And you useless thing. Master of Shangguan furiously pinched his eyebrows and kicked Butler Shangguan. I asked you to be the representative of Shangguan family, and this is how you solve an emergency? Master of Shangguan's informant had already told him the ins and outs of today's matter. He was clear about Butler Shangguan's magnificent feat today. Now he could not wait to strangle Butler Shangguan to death. He had completely ruined the reputation of the Shangguan family. It was Butler Shangguan's godly assistance that allowed Shangguan family to be involved with the dark forces. Master, Butler Shangguan fiercely hit the ground. He painfully frowned. Master of Shangguan, spare me, spare me. Spare me? I will naturally spare your worthless life. Master of Shangguan gritted his teeth. Letting you die is too easy for you. Butler Shangguan's face instantly turned ashen. Shangguan Liuli, who was lying on the wooden pole, was also frightened by Master of Shangguan's anger, and kept coughing. The blood on her body dripped onto the ground drop by drop. She was in so much pain that tears flew out. Father, I was wrong. I shouldn't have colluded with the dark forces. I shouldn't have been possessed. Shangguan Liuli cried in a low voice. Was this the taste of death? So desperate, so lonely. No, she did not want to die. Shangguan Liuli knew that she could only admit her mistake and use her father's love for her to beg for his forgiveness. As long as the injuries on her body were healed, she would definitely have a chance to make a comeback. She still had a chance to make a comeback. Master of Shangguan family did not respond to Shangguan Liuli's crying. He squinted his cold eagle eyes and stared at his daughter coldly, until Shangguan Liuli's choked sobs gradually turned into fear. He then slowly walked to the wooden pole and bent down with a cold expression on his face. I want to meet the master of the dark forces. Can you arrange it? Master of Shangguan family lowered his voice when he asked the last question. It seemed that as long as Shangguan Liuli shook her head, he would break Shangguan Liuli's neck without hesitation. He would never be soft-hearted just because she was his daughter. Shangguan Liuli would never give up her only chance to live. She moved her head painfully and nodded with difficulty. I can. Daddy, I can. By the time Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian stood at the entrance of the private room, they saw at least 40 over of the 60 over devil class students, lying drunk on the table or on the ground. There were more than 10 people, although they were not drunk to the point of collapsing on the ground. However, he could no longer remain clear-headed. On the other hand, Long Yunjian, who was sitting in the middle, had a clear look in his eyes. It was like a unique lotus blossoming amidst the wine fragrance. Qing Luo. Long Yunjian stood up and looked at the students lying on the ground. They were too happy and drank too much. I'm afraid it's more than one cup. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched helplessly as she looked at the ground full of corpses. She didn't even have a place to land her feet when she walked into the private room. Long Yunjian shook his head helplessly. Since we've won the preliminary round, they don't need to take part in tomorrow's semifinals. So what if they're drunk? It's a rare occasion. Yiqing Luo had no intention to blame them. She brought them to the biggest restaurant in the West Square and booked a private room to set up a celebratory banquet so that everyone could relax. Chapter 1171. Let's return to the dormitory later. There are so many people, and we can't carry them over. If she summoned Shiju and Chi-Chi and brought them back one by one, the Western continent's topic would change from the Heavenly Academy's interclass competition to the magical beast scene. They had just won the preliminary round. Everything was still low-key. Low-key. After a day of competition, Long Yunjian was already exhausted. These students probably wouldn't wake up anytime soon. Yiqing Luo let Long Yunjian rest here, while she and Dmo Xian went to the cabin next door to rest. Long Yunjian said he was resting, but in actual fact, he needed to observe these drunk students if they would suddenly throw a fit. As for Yiqing Luo, she was really nestled in Dmo Xian's arms and fell into a deep sleep. Early in the morning, she battled with Wolf Saint Law in order to save Yi Fengyu. After that, she battled with hundreds of dark guardians. Following that, she went up the stage to fight with Shangguan Liuli. Yiqing Luo was after all a human, and her mortal body was already exhausted. Dmo Xian looked at the young lady in his arms who was breathing smoothly as his brows overflowed with tenderness and warmth. His slender fingers gently caressed the young lady's cheek. His chest suddenly felt a warm feeling. Dmo Xian frowned as he carefully shifted her body. He saw a ball of white light flickering at Yiqing Luo's heart. The scorching feeling was transmitted from her heart. At the same time, Yiqing Luo's bracelet on her wrist slowly floated, like pieces of flower petals. Dmo Xian's obsidian-like black eyes flashed slightly. He grabbed her wrist, and his fingertips brushed past that cherry blossom petal. The red light formed a boundary and bounced him out. Dmo Xian narrowed his eyes as he recalled the azure dew bracelet spirit, which he had met once before. He retracted his hand and embraced Yiqing Luo in his arms again, as he sighed helplessly. This lass, she was still so desperate. Even when she was tired, she still extracted her spiritual consciousness and entered the azure dew bracelet. She didn't forget to cultivate even when she was resting. She was indeed very Luoer. If Yiqing Luo, who was in the azure dew bracelet, knew of Dmo Xian's thoughts, she would definitely cover her face and cry out in injustice. This time, it wasn't her fault. It was Old Man Song who had forcefully summoned her into the azure dew bracelet. The physically and mentally exhausted Yiqing Luo really didn't have the mood to follow Old Man Song to cultivate. She opened her mouth and yawned. Old Man Song, why are you looking for me? Old Man Song's spiritual body floated to her side and looked around. After confirming that she wasn't seriously injured, he retracted his gaze. Seeing the fatigue in Yiqing Luo's eyes, he didn't beat around the bush. Regarding the matter of the profound yin qi entering your body some time ago, do you still remember it? Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled when she heard that. Her eyes, which were filled with fatigue, suddenly became clear. Have you found out the reason? Old Man Song shook his head. Your internal organs, limbs, and bones are all very clean. There is no aura of mysterious yin qi. No aura of mysterious yin qi. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes and opened up her palm to take a look. Profound yin qi can only control me once? What's the purpose? She had always thought that the dark forces wanted to play the same trick again. He wanted to manipulate her to hurt his own brother. Then when he regretted for life, he would grab hold of the darkness in her heart and use it as a lure to make her hand over the profound heart jade. Because that time, the dark forces' actions were discovered by the Overlord, and he knew that you were vigilant, so... No. Chapter 1172. But even if I did not intentionally suppress my profound grade, I did not feel the existence of profound yin qi. That time when she was controlled by the profound yin qi, it was because of the confrontation with the dark forces assassins. At the same time, to test the strength of the earth profound fourth grade. After that, she was stimulated by the dark forces assassins with fresh blood, which unknowingly awakened the profound yin qi hidden in her body. Old Man Song and Dmo Xian had warned her. She tried her best to stabilize her profound grade below earth profound fourth grade. But today on the stage, she had already released all her strength. Facing Shangguan Luli, she was indeed not worried. She could use the true power of Earth Profound 6th grade. But the 6th level of the Earth Profound realm was not fake after all. If Yiqing Luo did not use Earth Profound 4th grade power to resist, she would not be able to escape under Shangguan Luli's pressure. I also feel strange. Old Man Song stared at Yiqing Luo suspiciously. Earth Profound 4th grade profound energy. You have released it to the extreme today, but I still did not detect any abnormality on you. You have seen a lot of fresh blood on Shangguan Luli, but there is still no abnormality. Both conditions were met. But Yiqing Luo was not blackened by the profound yin qi. What was going on? Could it be that they were overthinking? We cannot relax our vigilance. The dark force's insidiousness, we have all seen it. Yiqing Luo did not feel that things were that simple, nor could she let her guard down. If the dark forces really used her, the other brothers would definitely be like Qiao Jin, who was obsessed with sex. They would not make a move on her. She was not willing to let the dark forces have their way. She could only try her best to avoid this matter from happening. And, Luo lass, Old Man Song's face was solemn. You promise me, unless it is a matter of life and death, do not casually use the Purgatory Tower's secret arts. Yiqing Luo was stunned. She immediately recalled Wolf Saint Fa's desire for the Thundercrash arts in the underground tunnel. She pursed her lips and nodded. I understand. Quite a few people recognized him with a single teleportation. Another Thundercrash arts was recognized by Wolf Saint Fa. The rewards in the Purgatory Tower. What was he hiding? If you want to practice teleportation, or the Thunderclap manual, you can enter the first and second floors of the Purgatory Tower to practice. You can also practice in the spiritual Qi treasured land. Old Man Song's faintly discernible hand gently covered Yi Qing Luo's head. Apparently, he didn't intend to respond to Yi Qing Luo's doubts. He only said with a helpless tone, "Wait until you grow to the point where you have the ability to protect the Azure Dew Bracelet and the Purgatory Tower. Then, you can reveal the Purgatory Tower's secret technique." He paused for a moment and the palm which was rubbing Yi Qing Luo's hair also stopped. "Lass, can you promise me?" She didn't know why, but Yi Qing Luo actually heard the undetectable sorrow in Old Man Song's tone. She knew that Old Man Song was hiding many secrets. If Old Man Song didn't say it, it must be for her own good. Because it was exactly as Old Man Song had said. Right now, she did not have the ability to know those things. Even if he knew everything, he couldn't change the current situation. She only needed to believe that all of Old Man Song's decisions were for her sake, and for her own good. "Amen, I understand." Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a smile. Old Man Song stroked her hair again. "All right, go and rest. After the competition ends, I will teach you how to display a stronger Thundercrash arts." Chapter 1173. Night had fallen. The stars twinkled, and a crescent moon gave off a weak glow as it shone onto the ground. In the dead of the night, the streets were quiet. Yi Qing Luo and the rest were wandering in the night, unaffected by the cold moonlight as their emotions were still soaring. At this moment, each of the students were carrying a few wine jars in their hands. Along the way, they left a trail of fragrance. Yi Qing Luo, this bunch of drunkards reincarnated? Although she ridiculed in this way. But Yi Qing Luo didn't stop these students' excitement. She naturally understood what these students were excited about. In the past 10 over years, these students were all from various large families, various forces or ordinary families who looked down on them. They were trash who could fight and scold. Their innate talent in cultivating the profound grade was not good enough. Their intellect was not good enough. And their ability was not good enough. No matter where they went, they would be disdained and ridiculed by those self-proclaimed geniuses. Humiliation, bullying, things which made them lose all their face, they had all suffered it before. Even if they relied on their own strength, tried hard to prove themselves, and entered the Heavenly Academy. But they still couldn't get those people's recognition. They were allocated to the Heavenly Academy's trash class, devil class. Suffering various students' ridicule and humiliation. This kind of life had never changed. This time, this battle, made them stand in front of everyone again, so that they could openly show off their abilities. They used their own spirit, their own ability, to gain the recognition of various forces. They were not trash. They could finally raise their heads high. No one would ever look down on them again, because they were the devil class. From the restaurant back to the mansion, they had to pass by the back mountain foot of the mansion. In the middle of the night, they passed by the back mountain foot. The chilly wind blew, and it felt like a gust of chilly wind. If one were to ask why they returned to the mansion in the middle of the night. Because Yi Qing Luo nestled in Dmo Xian's arms, and fell into a deep sleep. In an instant, she slept till the middle of the night. Dmo Xian just hugged her like that, not moving for several hours, but didn't wake her up. Yi Qing Luo was rather helpless. They were students who were going to take part in the competition, so it was not right to not return at night. Immediately, he rushed to the private room next door, and kicked all the students in the room up. Dmo Xian still had to deal with the attack on his dormitory, as well as devising an open and above-board plan to destroy Wolf Saint's forces. So he left first. The group of devil class immediately rushed towards the dormitory. And these people didn't forget to continue drinking wine from the wine jars before they left. Along the way, there was laughter and chatter, and the atmosphere was quite pleasant. After making a detour around the foot of the mountain breeze blew over, and Zhang Xian could vaguely smell a strange scent in the air. Yi Qing Luo's expression congealed. Almost instinctively, her fingertips moved, and the glowing flame fan stirred up a hurricane, enveloping all the devil class students within it. The hurricane directly cut off the strange aura coming from the air. Qing Luo. Long Yunzhan immediately moved and walked to Yi Qing Luo's side. leaning back to back with her as he surveyed the surroundings vigilantly. Be careful. Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth calmly as she turned back and took a look at the bunch of drunken youngsters. Sense how many people the other party has. This bunch of stinky brats. I'm afraid they have no way to battle. Long Yunjian nodded lightly. He narrowed his blue eyes and released his perception. Yi Qing Luo also took the opportunity to take out a handful of medicinal powder from the profound phoenix ring. As the glowing flame fan waved, that medicinal powder directly swept over every single youngster's face. Chapter 1174. Yi Qing Luo then kept her glower flame fan. After the hurricane dissipated, the strange smell that permeated the surrounding air grew even denser. There are about 300 people coming, and there are 2 Earth Profound practitioners among them. Long Yunjian opened his eyes. 300 people? Yi Qing Luo frowned. He actually spent so much money. Were they from the Dark Forces? No, before the competition, the 100 Dark Guardians sent by the Wolf Saint Law had already died in DM Ocean's hands. To the Dark Forces, this was a huge loss. Especially now that the Imperial Palace had gotten involved with the Dark Forces. The Dark Forces would never have the energy to trouble her again. Not waiting for Yi Qing Luo to think carefully, from all directions, people dressed in black martial arts attire had already surged forward. In an instant, it surrounded the 60-odd people in Devil Class. Devil Class, hand over your life. A furious berating was heard, and one of the black-robed men, wielding a huge axe, directly chopped down towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. That move had clearly released all the power in his body. This voice, Butler Shangguan? That's right. This voice was none other than Butler Shangguan's. At the end of the competition, Butler Shangguan confronted her. Yi Qing Luo remembered this voice. These people were from the Shangguan family. It was obvious that they had been lying in ambush for a long time. Yi Qing Luo, do you really think that you can be arrogant and complacent just because you won against our 5th miss? Butler Shangguan saw that he had been discovered and simply couldn't be bothered to cover his face. He directly tore off the black cloth on his face and sneered. Tonight, I will avenge our 5th miss. For the Shangguan family. Butler Shangguan snickered. His eyes were filled with unconcealable hatred. It was this girl. It was her who had caused him to fall from his position as a steward to a slave who had signed a death contract. She was the one who caused Shangguan Liuli to be banished to the cold courtyard from the position of the future head of the Shangguan family. No one cared about her. She had destroyed his idea of cozying up to Shangguan Liuli. It also made him completely understand. It turned out that he had hugged the wrong leg. It was her who had caused the Shangguan family to suffer from rumors and slanders. He even asked the other families to join hands and forcefully searched the Shangguan family. Except for Shangguan Liuli's courtyard, there was no aura of the dark forces in the entire Shangguan mansion. However, they still managed to find a lot of rare items from the Shangguan mansion. Furthermore, there were some rare items that belonged to other aristocratic families. Immediately, another storm was set off. This action was obviously a humiliation to the Shangguan family. Now the Shangguan family had become a family that anyone could humiliate. If he didn't kill Yi Qing Luo, how would he vent his anger? Butler Shangguan, this is the mountain behind the dormitory. If you use your profound energy to attack me, then it will attract the attention of the academy, and they will rush over. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were curved, but she couldn't conceal her chilly intent. Your Shangguan family's record of humiliation has added another stroke. You. Butler Shangguan gnashed his teeth in anger. Murderous aura wandered wantonly in his eyes. A barrier has already been set up all around. None of you can escape. No one could enter. I'd like to see if it'll be those old fogies from the academy rushing over, or if we'll kill all of you first. As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding 300 over Shangguan family's men pounced towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. The pitch-black sky was faintly covered with a layer of blood color. It covered the bright moon in the sky. A few dim stars flickered weakly. Chapter 1175. Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly. The long and narrow arc, under the chilly moonlight, revealed a bone-chilling intent. She smiled as the glower flame fan in her hands, in the next instance, set off a ray of red glow. That bewitching red glow in the dark night. It looked extremely strange. If one didn't look closely, it looked like a ball of raging fire, forming a ring of fire in midair, surrounding Devil Class's group of students who were lying unsteadily. Those Shangguan family's people who were rushing over immediately stopped in their tracks. Butler Shangguan's eyes revealed an ominous glint as the huge axe directly chopped onto that red glow. What are you all in a daze for? A bunch of little trash who haven't even grown their hair yet. What's there to be afraid of? Go, go. The huge axe collided with the red glow. A ray of red lightning flowed along the huge axe. In an instant it corroded Butler Shangguan. Butler Shangguan cried out miserably as he and his axe flew out directly, crashing heavily onto the ground. The mountain breeze continued to blow, not knowing when the cold air had been covered by the bloodthirsty aura. Perhaps it was because the mountain breeze was too chilly. Butler Shangguan inexplicably felt a chill in his heart, as well as his spine. Just as he was about to concentrate, to see clearly where this feeling came from. After that, he heard a sweet laughter that revealed dense coldness, and it approached from afar. That's true, we've set up an enchantment, so no one can enter and no one can leave. Butler Shangguan's face turned black. What did her words mean? Very quickly, Yiqing Luo used her actions to directly express the meaning in her words, only to see that red glow sweeping wildly, as terrifying energy, as though it was going to flip the heavens and earth. An unprecedented strong aura floated in the surroundings. Brothers, are you all trash? Yiqing Luo's cold voice, sonorous and forceful. No, although they were drunk, but everyone instinctively responded in unison. Brothers, if someone wants to kill all of you in front of you, what will you do? Yiqing Luo asked again. Kill. Without any hesitation, the reply instantly ignited the group of drunken students' battle intent. Then, do what you want to do. Yiqing Luo shifted to the side, as her voice carried an irresistible force. Long Yunjian frowned and said in a low voice, They are all so drunk, can they do it? The person is intoxicated, but the heart is not. Yiqing Luo smiled. In their heart's devil class, the world group is their sense of belonging. If someone wanted to destroy the belonging in their hearts, their body's instinct would drive their consciousness to join the battle. Yiqing Luo's words had just landed. At this moment, the profound energy of those students who could not even walk steadily suddenly increased explosively. Butler Shangguan, who was sitting on the floor, immediately opened his mouth wide. The rest of the Shangguan family also stared at the drunken students in disbelief. Streams of powerful profound qi soared into the sky. The bodies of those trash that they looked down upon were glowing with a mysterious light. Mystic Profound 7th grade. Mystic Profound 8th grade. What the hell? There was even a Mystic Profound level 9. Amongst these trash, most of them were actually profound practitioners above the 5th grade of the Mystic Profound realm. Furthermore, there were at least a dozen or so profound practitioners above the 7th grade of the Mystic Profound realm. The people of the Shangguan family were completely stunned. This is impossible. This group of students were as cowardly as dogs on the arena during the day. How could they possibly reach the Mystic Profound 7th or 8th grade in such a short time? You all have also colluded with the dark forces. Butler Shangguan was so shocked that his mouth was agape. He raised his hand and pointed shakily at the group of students who were still releasing their profound energy. Right. That's right. They must have colluded with the dark forces. Chapter 1176. You bunch of bitches. How dare you collude with the dark forces and betray my 5th miss? Butler Shangguan gritted his teeth and roared. In just a few short hours, how could a group of wretched and battered trash on the arena become so powerful? Don't think of everyone as deplorable as Shangguan Liuli. For the sake of so-called power, they obliterated their own humanity and sold their own souls. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched in disdain. Dark forces are not qualified for us to collude with. Pausing slightly, her lips curled up as she looked to her side. Ajan Jinzi. The two of them immediately came back to their senses and at the same time, checked their profound rank in the study. Second grade of Earth Profound Realm. Earth Profound 7th grade. Wait a minute. Earth Profound 7th grade? Devil class has a 7th grade Earth Profound Realm student? A class that everyone thought was trash. A 7th grade Earth Profound Realm expert actually appeared? Furthermore, this expert was the youth who had been injured by Shangguan Liuli in the arena today. Earth Profound 7th grade. What kind of profound rank was that? In the entire Western continent, there was no one who surpassed the 5th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. They could be counted on one hand. A 7th grade Earth Profound Realm Xian practitioner had actually appeared. No wonder Yi Qing Luo and the others dared to be so arrogant. Ajan. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes. This powerful profound energy caused her profound heart jade to faintly emit heat. She covered her chest with her fingers and narrowed her eyes as she stared deeply at Long Yunjian. A ball of blue light faintly appeared on Long Yunjian's chest. Blue. It was actually the profound heart blue jade. It was a blue-grade profound heart jade. The profound jade heart was the source of a profound practitioner's power. It was divided into 8 grades: scarlet, orange, yellow, green, cyan, indigo, and violet. The lower the grade, the stronger the power of the profound heart jade. A profound practitioner's own profound strength, profound rank, and so on would all be strengthened because of this. Long Yunjian actually had a profound blue heart jade, and his profound rank had actually reached the peak of the 7th level. Too scary. Runlong's true strength was simply too shocking. When the people of the Shangguan clan saw Long Yunjian, who was at the 7th level of the Earth Profound Realm, each and every one of them wanted to escape. One had to know. A 7th grade Earth Profound Xian practitioner had the ability to fight against 100 people alone. In addition, there was another Earth Profound 4th grade Yi Qing Luo. They would definitely suffer heavy casualties. Steady. Don't panic. Housekeeper Shangguan himself was trembling, and his voice was trembling as well. However, he forced himself to hold on, and spoke sternly to calm everyone down. We have 300 people, but there are only 2 people who can fight. Kill those drunken brats first. Now they absolutely could not retreat. There was no room for retreat, because even they themselves were unable to break through this barrier. If they weren't able to destroy the devil class and capture Yi Qing Luo, they would be trapped here for all eternity. There was only one way they could go. That was exterminate the entire devil class. Capture Yi Qing Luo. This thought had just surfaced in his mind. Filled with battle intent, he was about to call out to the Shangguan family's men to split apart Yi Qing Luo's hurricane and directly launch an attack. What happened next made them even more flabbergasted. Those drunken students in devil class looked as though they were walking on flimsy steps, trash that could be easily chopped into 2 with a casual slash. One by one, their profound grades rose explosively. The entire rear mountain forest surged with an extremely terrifying energy. Surging like a tide, the airwaves rolled and roared, as though it was about to explode. The strong hurricane that was set off was like a tornado, blowing the entire rear mountain. Chapter 1177. Guan. Am I dreaming? My eyes must be playing tricks on me, right? How could this be possible? This bunch of trash. How could they possibly have such powerful strength? Right. We must be dreaming. The people from the Shangguan clan stared at the aggressive students in front of them in disbelief. They couldn't believe it. This bunch of students were obviously trash. Each and every one of them only knew how to use the power of profound qi. It was obvious that this group of trash was being chased around the arena and was covered in wounds by Shangguan Liuli. How could this bunch of trash possibly? How could they possibly become so powerful? The lowest profound grade was actually at Mystic Profound 6th grade realm. Their hearts suddenly trembled. Dumbstruck, the Shangguan family's men almost fainted. What the? This was too heaven-defying. A bunch of trash had turned into geniuses. This was simply the biggest joke in the world. Brothers, let's annihilate our devil class's disrespectful enemies. Yi Qing Luo's voice was filled with ruthlessness and iciness. Her words had just landed. The drunken students behind him had already rushed forward like a swarm of bees. Just as what Yi Qing Luo said. Although they were drunk, their hearts weren't. Their bodies' instincts had replaced everything. Kill. Blindly kill. Kill all these people who dared to hurt their brothers. Butler Shengguan finally realized how dumb he was. He couldn't tell the changes in Devil Class's students, and even argued with third head Yuqi. Now he personally felt the power of Devil Class's students, and felt Yi Qing Luo's power. Turning around, he wanted to make use of the chaos to escape. Just as he got out of the crowd, his figure flashed towards the dead tree in the dark. Boom! A huge explosion sound was heard and a deep pit exploded right beside Butler Shengguan's feet. Smoke and dust curled up, and the remnant profound energy was still faintly floating. Just one step. Just one step away. If earlier, Butler Shengguan had taken another step forward, the one who was blasted into a deep pit would be him. Butler Shengguan still had a lingering fear in his heart. He shivered as he looked in the direction of the attack. The red-clothed girl smiled sweetly, and waved her red fan lightly. Housekeeper Shengguan, are you planning to escape by yourself, and leave all these profound practitioners here? When the students who were filled with fear heard this, their faces immediately darkened. Pairs of angry eyes looked at the Shengguan family's butler. He caught a glimpse of the Shengguan family steward, who was actually outside of the crowd, beside a withered tree. The people from the Shengguan clan immediately understood. If it wasn't for Yi Qing Luo's profound qi that stopped Butler Shengguan had obviously escaped from here, even though the back mountain had been sealed by the barrier. But he had been hiding in the dark, avoiding Yi Qing Luo and the others. By the time Yi Qing Luo and the others thought of a way to undo the enchantment, it wasn't impossible for him to seize the opportunity to escape. Thinking of this, the faces of the Shengguan family members turned ashen, and their faces were filled with rage. Chamberlain Shengguan, these profound practitioners were all brought here by you. Shouldn't you be responsible for them? She stopped waving her fan, placed it under her chin, and began to fan the flames. You slut! Butler Shengguan looked at those people from the Shengguan family, as all of them revealed a vengeful expression. As for Yi Qing Luo, she was still standing by the side, smiling charmingly, with a peerless beauty. Chapter 1178. Profound qi in the air formed airwaves, one wave after another, rolling like a tide. That huge axe carried a thick murderous aura. In this instance, it actually reached the earth profound third-grade realm. That's right. Butler Shengguan had advanced in this desperate situation. This was anger, disregarding everything, not caring about his life, attacking the protective consciousness in his body, forcefully advancing. His eyes were scarlet red, the huge axe's profound light, as though it was tearing the air apart. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly. Her figure swiftly extended, like a ghost. She stepped close to Butler Shengguan. The glower flame fan in her hand suddenly closed. She fiercely knocked on his back a few times. That arrogant Butler Shengguan immediately felt a heart-wrenching pain in his body, as though his internal organs were about to be torn apart. He steadied himself in the room. He fell from mid-air in a sorry state, heavily crashing onto the ground. The huge black axe smashed onto the ground, giving off a heavy sound. SL. Slut. Butler Shengguan half-propped himself up, as he gritted his teeth and spat out 2 words. Sinister eyes as fierce as a wild beast. After spitting out 2 words, he spat out another mouthful of blood. Just based on trash like you, and you want to kill me? Yi Qing Luo lifted her leg, and without hesitation, stepped on Butler Shengguan's chest. Just based on this bunch of trash that you brought, and you want to kill my devil class? Using force, she stepped down fiercely. Ah! A heart-wrenching howl exploded from Butler Shengguan's mouth. His chest was directly stomped by Yi Qing Luo a hole. A steady flow of fresh blood from the skeleton continued to be used. His chest was in extreme pain. It affected his entire body, causing excruciating pain. But Butler Shengguan was still conscious. He could clearly feel that his chest was constantly gushing out blood. His blood was flowing out. He could even clearly feel that death was so close, so close. Don't worry. Before you see with your own eyes how these people from the Shengguan family die for you, I won't take your life." Words that seemed to be comforting clearly rang in the Shengguan family steward's ears. He frowned in pain. It was just a simple frown, but it affected the wound on his chest, causing him immense pain. "I'm an apothecary, and I know how much blood there is in a person's body. I also know that the rate at which you're losing blood is enough for you to watch the Shengguan clan members die one by one in front of you." Yi Qingluo continued to laugh as she spoke. Housekeeper Shengguan's eyes widened in horror as he stared at Yi Qingluo fiercely. "Devil! You devil!" The blood shadow saber light scattered over the entire land. Yi Qingluo maintained her sweet and innocent smile as she looked at the stacked corpses, without any change in her expression. Fresh blood dyed her enchanting eyes red. It made her even more breathtaking. Butler Shengguan lay on the ground, motionless. Blood was still flowing out. He could feel the dizziness and pain of blood loss. But unfortunately, not knowing what Yi Qingluo did to him, his consciousness became clearer and clearer. From the initial shock, to seeing the people from the Shengguan family dying tragically under the feet of the devil class, to the final numbness. There was no feeling. There was no feeling at all. Looking at those young and immature faces, it was obvious that they were drunk. But they were fighting a bloody battle. The red uniform, mixed with the fresh blood, was extremely glaring. On their faces, there was no fear of killing, no shock of killing. Chapter 1179. Those youths were drunk and unconscious. They were only moving based on their instincts. Then what about Yi Qingluo? She was obviously conscious. But facing such a large-scale massacre, how could she remain so calm? A 15-year-old young lady, merely a 15-year-old young lady, facing such a bloody massacre scene, there was no fluctuation of emotions. As though she was already used to such scenes. This knowledge caused Butler Shengguan's heart to suddenly tighten. Until now he finally knew clearly. He had offended a malefic star that he shouldn't have. This bunch of youngsters in devil class were simply a bunch of perverts. A bunch of terrifying perverts. But unfortunately, this knowledge could not make him turn back. A dead man's mouth was the tightest. Butler Shengguan, and these people from Shengguan family. All of them would shut their mouths forever for devil class's secret. The ground was filled with blood and corpses. Yi Qingluo and the rest were already used to this thick blood stench, as they didn't show any signs of discomfort. In this vicious battle, those originally drunk students started to sober up one by one. Seeing the ground filled with blood, as well as their own bodies, hands and even their brothers' faces which were covered in blood. Very quickly, they understood what had happened. "Madam Qingluo, aren't we very powerful? We killed so many people? We're simply too awesome. We were so drunk, but we still managed to kill all 400 of them. I worship myself too much. How could we be so powerful?" The students' faces were filled with joy, as they didn't care about their disheveled state, as they directly surrounded Yi Qingluo. That expression of seeking for praise, seeking for appreciation and seeking for recognition, made Yi Qingluo laugh. Long Yinzhan, Xiao Jin and the rest stood by the side as they wiped off the blood stains on their hands while shaking their heads helplessly. Indeed, letting Qingluo guide the students is the right choice. Look. This bunch of abnormal students. Yen Xiaoyi coughed lightly. Actually, I want to say, I don't know this bunch of people. Mn. Mo Yuing nodded expressionlessly. After the laughter, Yi Qingluo looked at the sky. It was probably almost 5 o'clock in the morning. Not long later, everyone would be waking up. If they stayed here any longer, those students or masters would discover the hundreds of corpses from Shengguan family, not to mention the fact that they would be detained, and expose the true strength of the devil class students. Most importantly, these people were all from the Shengguan family, to die in the hands of their devil class. The people from the Shengguan family would definitely not let this matter rest. The current devil class still possessed the ability to clash with the large clans. She was not afraid of anything, but if the other party were to attack the other students in the dark, it was just like kidnapping Yi Fengyu. She would definitely be restrained. Yi Qingluo cleared her throat and clapped her hands. Alright, the surroundings have been set up with an enchantment barrier. Let's find the base of the enchantment first before thinking of a way to break it. She had just tested it. There was no way to forcibly break the barrier by using profound chi. Furthermore, this spirit formation gave off an extremely familiar feeling. At this moment, she didn't have time to think about it. If he wanted to break the spirit formation, he would have to first find the foundation of the spirit formation. Then, he would have to find a way to break the spirit formation. More than 60 people were divided into 11 groups of 6. Every group had a class committee member. Whereas for Yi Qing Luo's group, because Yen Xiaoyi was injured on the arena stage, Yi Qing Luo directly brought her along. Chapter 1180. After searching for an entire 1 hour, the sky had already started to turn white. 11 teams had yet to find the base of the barrier. They were unable to leave the entire rear mountain, but they weren't able to find the base of the barrier. Seeing that time was running out, Yi Qing Luo's heart was getting more and more anxious. 2 consecutive times, she had suffered a loss in the barrier. She had decided, after leaving the rear mountain, she must obtain the secret manual to set up the barrier and break the barrier from Dmo Xian, or Old Man Song. Boss Qing Luo, the sky is already bright. Today is the semi-finals for the other classes, so they will definitely come to the rear mountain for their morning training. What kind of damn barrier is this? We can't even break it forcefully. Shangguan family intentionally wants to seal us in the rear mountain. The students' emotions started to get restless. They were all clear that if they were discovered, the rear mountain waste would be littered with corpses and devil classes students would be standing beside those corpses. How serious the consequences would be. Perhaps. Shangguan family originally had this idea in mind. If they died, they would forcefully drag devil class down with them. As long as devil class lost their lives during the competition period, they would definitely be forcefully disqualified from the competition. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased tightly as she shot a glance at Long Yunjian and lowered her voice. Ajan, Earth Profound 7th grade profound energy, is unable to break the barrier. But if combined with Qi, can it be? One was a human dragon. The other was a sacred beast. If the 2 powers were combined, perhaps they could forcefully break the barrier. Long Yunjian nodded calmly. We can give it a try. Yi Qing Luo was about to summon Qi. Suddenly the rear mountain waste started to shake. The ground beneath their feet started to crack. Devil classes students' expressions congealed, as they instinctively stuck together, as they stared vigilantly at the surroundings. But they saw. The transparent and invisible barrier, that had trapped them in the back mountain for more than an hour, was now covered by a lustrous white radiance. Following that barrier suddenly disappeared. A student tried to walk out of the position, which was obstructed earlier. Without any obstruction, he directly passed through the rear mountain and walked forward for another 10 over steps. There was no obstruction at all. That barrier had really disappeared. The student turned his head, as he excitedly wanted to tell Yi Qing Luo. But before he could say anything, he saw a jade green figure was walking towards Yi Qing Luo. She was graceful and graceful. Her posture was elegant and gentle. Her long hair was like flowing clouds, and it was a delicate young lady's hair, pinned with an exquisite hairpin. On the other hand, the most striking part was the jade-colored ribbon that hung vertically on her hair. It hung down to her shoulder and fluttered with the wind, causing her to have a unique charm. Beautiful. This girl was very beautiful. It was the kind of cold and holy beauty. She was different from his master's stunning beauty. Who was she? The student was filled with doubts as he walked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. He then realized that Yi Qing Luo's expression was extremely ugly. The woman who appeared was none other than the one who had been chasing after Dmo Xian since young. On account of the underground palace's old grandma, Dmo Xian only treated her as his younger sister, Feng Ling. That person was extremely sensitive to barriers. That woman who was a natural-born world spiritist. He was actually saved by her. Yi Qing Luo's desire to learn the method of setting up and deciphering the enchantment grew stronger by the minute. What are you doing here? Yi Qing Luo asked coldly. towards this Feng Ling who had the intention to spy on Dmo Xian, Yiqing Luo couldn't bring herself to like her at all. Chapter 1181. Feng Ling's hand had just held on to Yiqing Luo when Yiqing Luo pulled it away. Not to mention the scene she saw in the illusion, it made Yiqing Luo have a natural hostility towards Feng Ling. Let's talk about how he first met wind chimes in the tunnel. Yiqing Luo was very clear that this woman absolutely adored Dmo Xian from the bottom of her heart. Moreover, this woman was definitely not as gentle and tranquil as she appeared on the surface. Especially, her words were full of loopholes. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as she gave a distant smile. There's no need for an apology. Sister Qing Luo. Feng Ling's smile froze as she awkwardly retracted her frozen hand. She bit her lower lip and looked at Yiqing Luo innocently. He looked extremely aggrieved. If there were others around, they would probably think that Yiqing Luo was bullying this delicate and weak little beauty. However, there was no one else on the mountainside. Miss Feng. Yiqing Luo interrupted Feng Ling's words as she looked at her with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Ever since we came out from the underground tunnel, Xian had always been with me. May I ask, Miss Feng, when did you hear about the matter between Xian and me? Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to waste any more time on her when she saw that she still wanted to act like a Saint Mother White Lotus until it bloomed. He immediately seized the loophole in Wind Chime's words to shut her up. The barrier was still broken, so they had to leave this place immediately. The morning exercise students would be here soon. At that time, they were in big trouble. Yiqing Luo led the devil class's students, as they walked past the corpses, towards the direction of the dormitory. However, Yiqing Luo had obviously underestimated Feng Ling's shamelessness. Windling did not show the slightest bit of embarrassment, because her lie was exposed. On the contrary, she quickly chased up to Yiqing Luo's footsteps as her voice was gentle and delicate. Sister Qing Luo, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Brother D and I are just ordinary siblings. I just don't wish for you to misunderstand. She chased after him very quickly. Yiqing Luo, who was walking ahead, suddenly stopped in her tracks. Feng Ling bumped into Yiqing Luo's back, staggered, and hurriedly retreated a few steps. He lowered his head submissively, looking as if he had been humiliated and wronged. Yiqing Luo slowly turned around as she squinted her eyes slightly, and the sharp glint in her eyes fell onto Feng Ling. Her smile was extremely shallow, with a tinge of coldness. Miss Feng, you can be at ease, the relationship between you and Xian. I will absolutely not have any misunderstanding. Do you know why? Feng Ling was stunned. Her clear eyes stared at Yiqing Luo in a daze. Her eyes filled with astonishment. Because Yiqing Luo's smile deepened. That smile was enchanting, elegant, and beautiful. Chapter 1182. Feng Ling's face turned as white as a sheet. Her frail body swayed slightly. After some time, her legs gave way, and she fell onto the ground. Her gentle and exquisite face could no longer maintain her gentleness. Yiqing Luo had never bothered about those unimportant people. Leading the group of people from devil class, she left without even turning her head back. The mountain breeze was still blowing. The stench of blood was extremely thick. Feng Ling didn't seem to feel the blood around her. His entire person had sunk into extreme rage. A strong hatred was burning in her heart. Why? Yiqing Luo was totally unaffected by her. Why did she want Yiqing Luo to doubt Dmo Xian and cause a quarrel between them? But Yiqing Luo didn't care at all. She was too confident in Dmo Xian. Or was she too confident in herself? No. Impossible. Grandma said before, any woman, as long as she was a woman, would have a strong possessive heart. Women were the most jealous existences. As long as the people and things that they treasured were being spied on by others, they would definitely lose all rationality and forcefully take back the people or things that belonged to them. How could Yiqing Luo not be affected by her? She didn't even put her in her eyes. She gripped her jade-colored sleeves tightly as her eyes were filled with ruthlessness, filled with murderous intent. She must kill Yiqing Luo. Definitely. Miss Feng. Behind her, a cold voice was heard. Feng Ling didn't turn back. Her expression was ruthless as she gritted her teeth and said, "All right, I agree to cooperate with you as long as leave Yi Qing Luo that slut to me." "No problem." The gloomy voice laughed coldly. Following that black-robed man walked closer and stood behind Feng Ling. A piece of red cloth the size of a palm landed beside Feng Ling. The cloth fluttered with the wind. Above it floated half a cherry blossom. Feng Ling grabbed that cloth tightly, as she was so exasperated that she wanted to tear that cloth. This thing can be put to good use. A cold smile with a treacherous plot. After returning to the dormitory, the group of people got drunk again and had another big battle. Returning to their respective rooms, they uniformly fell onto the bed and fell into a deep sleep. Yi Qing Luo no longer felt sleepy. Her mind was filled with Feng Ling's innocent face. Of course, this was not because Feng Ling's words made her feel a sense of danger. After being together with Dmo Xian for a period of time, how would Yi Qing Luo not know his character and character? Since Dmo Xian said so, it had nothing to do with Feng Ling naturally. It had nothing to do with him. She did not take Feng Ling seriously at all. What she was thinking about was the reason why wind chimes appeared at the mountainside at the back of the mountain. It was just the hour of the tiger, and wind chimes was already at the mountainside at the back. He even removed the barrier and took the initiative to express his goodwill. Yi Qing Luo absolutely did not believe that Feng Ling just happened to pass by. The aura of that barrier. She felt very familiar. Until the appearance of Feng Ling, Yi Qing Luo finally understood that spirit formation's aura was extremely similar to the spirit formation formed by the Earth Wolf Saint technique. It was the dark forces that had established the barrier for Butler Shangguan and the others. In other words, the Shangguan family was very likely to be investigated by the various superpowers because of her questioning of the Shangguan family. It was to the extent that he had no choice but to cooperate with the dark forces, which solidified his infamy and Feng Ling's appearance at this moment. There was also a possibility that, because of Dmo Xian, the dark forces had caught hold of a gap. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows instantly creased tightly. Chapter 1183. Feng Ling was the granddaughter of the underground palace's old granny. She grew up in the imperial palace, and was one of them. Feng Ling and the dark forces were involved, which meant that the imperial palace was also involved with the dark forces. And now, Dmo Xian was on bad terms with the dark forces because of Wolf Saint's assassination. If at this time, Feng Ling placed the imperial palace's future in the dark forces' hands, it would definitely be a huge problem for Dmo Xian. And it was a problem that was hard to solve. This Feng Ling, was she really that stupid? Yi Qing Luo was deeply worried. It was better to find a chance to tell Dmo Xian about her guess, so that Dmo Xian would at least be prepared for it. She stretched her waist. Since she couldn't sleep, she might as well go into the Azure Dew bracelet to raise her strength. Not knowing how long had passed, Yi Qing Luo could vaguely hear a clamor coming from the outside world. She retracted her spiritual consciousness and opened her eyes. She saw a black shadow floating outside her room door, only to hear an angry dispute outside. "Get out of my way! Otherwise I will shred you into pieces right now." Shangguan Great Master, Qing Luo is resting in the room. "If there's anything, we can talk on the stage tomorrow. Today is Devil class's free time." Long Yunzhan's cold voice was neither servile nor overbearing. Hearing the few words "First Master Shangguan," Yi Qing Luo's heart instantly sunk. Shangguan family's people? Looking for her? Could it be the matter at the back of the mountain had been discovered? Was it Feng Ling who leaked the secret? Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she got up from the bed. Her slender fingers casually fiddled with her fine black hair as she opened the room door. He saw a man with a strong body, like a bull grabbing Qiao Jin's collar. Behind him were 10 over Shangguan family's guards. Beside Qiao Jin were 10 over Devil class's students, each of them shouting angrily, asking him to let go of Qiao Jin. Apparently, they had been arguing for a long time. Seeing Yi Qing Luo appear, That wild bull man shook off Qiao Jin and strode towards Yi Qing Luo's direction, stretching out that pair of arms which were thicker than Yi Qing Luo's entire body. He directly grabbed Yi Qing Luo. Slut. You actually made a move on Shangguan family's people. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes. The man's strength was extremely great. When he swung his hand over, it stirred up a strong airflow. However, that thick and solid arm grabbed onto Yi Qing Luo, but grabbed onto thin air. The barbarian bullman's face was ashen. He followed the aura in anger and punched the side of his body. Unexpectedly, the man felt a dull pain in his abdomen, and his 2-meter-tall body was actually forced to take a few steps back. His face instantly darkened. He clutched his stomach and glared fiercely at the person who injured him. Her red dress fluttered like a blooming rose. Yi Qing Luo stood lazily by the side, her body leaning softly on Yan Xiaoyi's shoulder. She covered her mouth with her slender fingers and yawned without a care for her image. Head Shangguan, you came looking for me so aggressively early in the morning. Could it be that you lost the semifinals again? Just as she finished speaking, she saw a furry little head burrowing into her bosom. Kitty Lee's little hands circled around Yi Qing Luo's slender waist. Sister, Intermediate Profound Class 2's qualification for the competition has already been disqualified by the director. So in today's semifinals, there's no Intermediate Profound Class 2. Her expression was innocent and pure. Her bright eyes were like luminous pearls, flickering with a trace of craftiness. Chapter 1184. Shangguan Great Master's face was filled with rage. That extremely ferocious face was sinister and terrifying. These two young ladies echoed each other, obviously purposely ridiculing the Shangguan family. Ridiculing them for being disqualified from the competition by the Heavenly Academy. Ridiculing them as a complete joke. New hatred and old hatred made the anger in Shangguan Great Master's eyes burn even more vigorously. Yi Qing Luo seemed as though she didn't see his furious expression, as she calmly caressed Kitty Lee's little head. Intermediate Profound Class 2 disqualification is merely Shangguan Liuli reaping the consequences of his own actions. What has it got to do with me? Isn't it a little far-fetched for Shangguan Great Master to look for me? Are you still acting dumb? Shangguan Great Master stretched out his arm once again, stirring up an intense burst of profound energy as the surrounding air shook apart. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. This raging bull still hadn't learnt to be smart? She sneered as she swiftly moved a few steps forward. His figure appeared behind the great head Shangguan. She raised her leg and gave a fierce kick towards his knees. A crack sound was heard. Shangguan Great Master's tall body staggered a few steps, and finally couldn't endure the pain as he knelt heavily onto the ground. That kneeling sound was earth-shattering. Everyone who heard this sound couldn't help but touch their own knees. A miserable shriek was heard from Shangguan Great Master's mouth. Beads of cold sweat rolled down from his forehead. Slut! What have you done to our Great Master? Shangguan family's guards all rushed forward as they surrounded Shangguan Great Master. A few of them immediately went to support Shangguan Great Master. Yi Qing Luo's smile was like a flower as her charming eyes circulated with an enchanting splendor. I was merely defending myself and didn't violate the Heavenly Academy's rules. Twice in a row, the head of Shangguan was kicked by a young girl who looked so small, and then his kneecap was directly broken. Shangguan Great Master finally understood why Fifth Miss hated this young lady so much. Because this young lady was simply too hateful. Yi Qing Luo, you massacred my Shangguan family's 340 people, and today you spoke rudely to me and insulted me. I have the right to send you to the main courtyard. Your devil class is disqualified from the competition. The first head Shangguan endured the sharp pain in his knees and roared while gnashing his teeth. At this moment he couldn't even stand steadily. His eyes were scarlet red as he clenched his fists tightly, as though he wanted to punch Yi Qing Luo's face, which was filled with ridicule, into two halves. As expected, the Shangguan family had already discovered the corpses on the back of the mountain. However, how could the Shangguan family place her as their first suspect? Devil class was known to be a trash class. How could a bunch of trash students defeat 340 profound practitioners from the Shangguan clan? It was impossible no matter how he thought about it. Why did head Shangguan still look for her? He couldn't figure out where the great leader got the news from. Yiqing Luo remained expressionless. Massacre? I only defeated Shangguan Liuli yesterday. Is that considered a massacre? Moreover, 340 people? Are you sure I have the ability to massacre your Shangguan families, 340 people? Yiqing Luo looked at him with a, "Are you sick?" expression and immediately rolled her eyes. Great Master Shangguan. If you want to slander me, then find a better reason. Who would believe you if you say it out like this? Shangguan's face turned red. Shangguan Great Master's chest was bullied by Yiqing Luo's words as he flew into a rage. He struggled to pounce towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Chapter 1185. The guards understood it very well. If Great Master Shangguan were to strike Yiqing Luo again, it wouldn't just be his knee that was broken. Both parties were in a deadlock. Two elders from the main courtyard hurried over. One of them was Supreme Mo, who was disguised as Wind. The minute the two elders came over, Great Master Shangguan gritted his teeth and swiftly recounted the earlier situation to the Great Elder. The main courtyard's elder had just rushed over from the West Square as his white brows creased tightly. "Student Yi, what else do you have to say?" Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. "Elder, don't tell me you also believe that my devil class is able to slaughter his Shangguan family's 300 over people?" She smiled, and her eyes instantly became cold. Her voice also turned icy cold at this moment. "You want me to admit that your Shangguan family's people were killed by my devil class? Good. For example, my devil class's students, even if they are as powerful as the high profound class, with just 60 over people, to be able to slaughter Shangguan family's 300 over people, then your Shangguan family is really weak. I don't know where you have the face to be called as one of the 4 great profound families. Great Master Shangguan, I merely exposed the matter of you colluding with the dark forces yesterday, and you're targeting me like this. Trying to push all the blame onto our devil class?" A disdainful tone, a ridiculing smile, a mocking gaze. It made the fury in Great Master Shangguan's heart explode at this moment. "Yiqing Luo, you slut. Since you dare to do it, then bear the consequences. Don't intentionally drag the topic into other things." Great Master Shangguan turned his head and looked at the main courtyard's elder as he pointed at his knees. "Elder, Yiqing is really too stubborn and mischievous." Relying on the fact that he had won the preliminary round, he became unbridled and didn't put the competition's rules in his eyes. He even injured this master. Yiqing Luo smiled sweetly when she heard that. That's right, since she dared to do it, she must bear the consequences. If you don't want others to know, then don't do it. Since your Shangguan family dared to collude with the dark forces, then you must bear the consequences of being found out. Blaming everything on me, a young girl. Your Shangguan family's face is really big. Her words were sonorous and forceful with righteous words. Every word and sentence was spat out clearly. It was clearly transmitted into everyone's eardrums. The faces of the Shangguan family members turned pale, whereas when the main courtyard elder heard Yiqing Luo's words, he indeed believed what she said. Early this morning, when they discovered the corpses of hundreds of Shangguan clansmen on the mountainside, everyone was shocked. They were all guessing which deity the Shangguan family had offended to have so many of their people killed, without anyone noticing. But after all, it didn't happen to him. The onlookers also didn't think much of it. After today's semifinals began, only a few teachers and elders were left behind to guard the place. Everyone else had participated in today's semifinals. The elders of the headquarters did not want to take over such an arduous and unrewarding task. However, the Shangguan clan's first head insisted on making a ruckus in the dormitory, and even started fighting with the students in the dormitory. No matter what, it was time for the head elder to come back. The chief dean elder was annoyed, especially after hearing Yiqing Luo's words. They felt that First Master Shangguan was being unreasonable, pushing everything onto the devil class's head. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.